Hello, Captain. Hello, Captain. Hello, Captain. Hello, Captain. Hello, Captain.
Did you get the one that I absconded with? Yes. Good. All right. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. We're going to go ahead and call our meeting to order. We'll start with a roll call from our city clerk, Kathy Valdez.
The record shall reflect that all members are present.
Our city attorney, Walter Chung, will give us a report on items from closed session.
The City Council took no reportable action in closed session today.
Councilmember Fox is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance this evening.
Please rise and remove your hats. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our city clerk has some procedural items to cover.
Thank you, Mayor. In accordance with the Brown Act, I'd like to announce that as a result of convening simultaneous meetings, the members of the Buena Sanitation District will receive compensation of $147.75 for the district meeting pursuant to Buena Sanitation District Ordinance 2006-1. I would like to remind everyone that the Vista Municipal Code requires members of the public to observe order and decorum at the meeting and to conduct themselves in a courteous manner. The ordinance was adopted to allow for public input and facilitate city business without disruption of the meeting. Applause is appropriate for items listed under the presentation portion of the agenda only. Students wishing to receive credit for attending this evening's meeting must stay for a minimum of 1 hour. However, we ask that you stay for the completion of an item rather than leaving in the middle of discussion. When you are ready to leave, you may ask one of the staff members at the back of the room to sign your paper. Thank you.
Thank you. To speak on an item on tonight's agenda, please fill out a speaker slip with the number of the item you'd like to speak on and give it to the clerk, secretary, staff here at the dais. Speaker slips are available on the table just outside the city council chambers. For members of the public participating via Zoom, you may use the raise your hand feature to indicate that you'd like to speak, or by pressing *9 on your phone. We will announce when to raise your hand to indicate that you'd like to make a comment on the specific item being discussed. Speakers will each have 3 minutes to address the council. Now we'll go to City Manager John Conley for approval of tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mayor. No changes to this evening's agenda.
Thank you. We have 3 presentations this evening, so I'd like to invite my fellow council members to join me at the lectern for those presentations. Okay, our first presentation tonight is one to present a hero proclamation in commendation to Deputy Dan Sheehan. Deputy, are you with us? Come on down. Captain? We've got a proclamation to present to Deputy Sheehan that reads, whereas, here, I'll let you show everybody this beautiful proclamation. It says, whereas Deputy Dan Sheehan has joined the Vista Patrol Station as its newest member, bringing a wealth of experience and dedication in public service. Prior to becoming a sheriff's deputy, Deputy Sheehan honorably served 12 years in the United States Marine Corps. Thank you. And as a Cobra pilot and Special Operations Forward Air Controller, completing 4 overseas deployments, including 2 combat tours in Iraq, and accruing several thousand flight hours. Whereas following his distinguished military career, Deputy Sheehan continued his service as a civilian contract pilot overseas before dedicating himself to raising his 2 children and sharing his experiences through writing. And whereas Deputy Sheehan is the author of 2 books, After Action, the true story of a Cobra pilot's journey, which was named to the Commandant of the Marine Corps Professional Reading Program in 2020, and Continuing Actions, A Warrior's Guide to Coming Home. which won multiple independent publishing book awards and serves as a guide for veterans transitioning to civilian life. And whereas Deputy Dan Sheehan recently graduated from the San Diego Regional Law Enforcement Academy, achieving the distinguished title of Honor Graduate, granting him the opportunity to select his first duty assignment among all sheriff stations throughout the county. And whereas in choosing the Vista Patrol Station, Deputy Sheehan cited the station's high operational tempo and the opportunity to serve a diverse community, demonstrating his commitment to protecting and assisting Vista's residents during their times of need. And whereas Deputy Sheehan's unwavering dedication to service, his leadership both in military and civilian roles, and his commitment to helping others exemplify the highest ideals of heroism and selflessness, now therefore I, the mayor, and the members of the Vista City Council do hereby proclaim and commend Deputy Dan Sheehan as a hero for his extraordinary service, courage, and dedication both to his country and to the Vista community. His commitment to public service, leadership, and willingness to serve in challenging capacities stand as an inspiration to all.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, city leadership. So when I came on board, I told the city manager one of my biggest priorities was going to be to bring the very best deputy sheriffs to Vista that I could. Not only bring them here, but retain them here, because that's what this community deserves, is the very best service that we can provide. Deputy Sheehan has done so much in his life. He comes with a ton of life experience, and there's no doubt that he's going to continue what he's been doing here in the city to help everyone achieve a greater quality of life and public safety. So thank you so much for your support, and we're looking forward to a great career with Deputy Sheehan and a lot of good things to come from him. So thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much to Captain John Malin. And next we have a proclamation we'd like to present to Sarah Spinks. Sarah, come on down.
Thank you, Sarah Spinks, for joining us. We have a proclamation for you. I'll have you hold that copy there. It reads, whereas the City of Vista proudly recognizes Sarah Spinks, a proud native of Vista, California, whose artistic contributions play an essential role in enhancing the cultural landscape of the Vista community. And whereas in 2011, Sarah initiated a series of pop-up art events that evolved into what became to be known as the Back Fence Society, a nonprofit organization offering an inclusive art space in downtown Vista for established and emerging artists, which included the Alley Art Festival. And in 2015, Sarah organized Only Losers Litter, a series of litter collection events in Vista that highlighted the alarming levels of waste left in the public right-of-ways. Volunteers contributed more than 1,000 hours to picking up litter. And whereas Sarah began participating in the Public Arts Commission meetings, ultimately being appointed to the commission from 2015 to 2019. She remains actively involved in downtown Vista, holding various board positions, including vice president of Vista Night Out, organizer for the Winterfest Committee, past board member of the Vista Chamber of Commerce, and participation on the Chamber's Christmas Parade Committee, Education Committee, and Strawberry Festival Entertainment Committee. Wow. Whereas in 2021, Sarah, through the Backfence Society and Tanya Yeager of Twisted Hearts Puppet Works, collaborated on the idea for an annual Dark Christmas Market. The 2024 edition of the Dark Christmas Market achieved remarkable success, exceeding expectations by drawing 3,000 attendees and vendors to downtown Vista. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that the City of Vista, along with the mayor and members of the Vista City Council, hereby commend Sarah Spinks and the Backfence Society for their unwavering dedication and exceptional contributions to Vista's public art scene. Sarah has enhanced community engagement in our downtown and has supported local businesses, enriching the lives of all residents and visitors of Vista. We hereby proclaim Wednesday, March 26, 2025, as Sarah Spinks Day in the city of Vista. Sarah, that's wonderful history. Would you like to say anything?
I just want to say thank you to the community of Vista, the downtown community, the artist community that I've been part of for so long, and opportunities to be creative with Vista. And now I'm teaching first grade at Vista Academy of Visual and Performing Arts, so I get to do this in a new capacity, and I hope to continue on. Tonight, I hope to be reappointed to the Arts Commission and just keep doing this work and even working with younger people, younger artists. So thank you.
Okay, our last proclamation is one declaring March 29th, 2025 as Vietnam Veterans Day in the city of Vista. And here to accept the proclamation this evening is VFW Post 7041, Commander Terry Moxley. Thank you for being here. Commander Moxley is also the first vice president of the Vietnam Veterans of America. Give you this to hold there. I want to say a special thank you to former Vista Councilwoman Amanda Rigby, who always makes sure that we never forget about our Vietnam veterans. And I also see Vietnam veteran Gary Garrettson, the Veterans Riding Group with us. To all of our veterans, no matter which war they served in or which era they served in, we're grateful to you for your service. But we're really honored to be able to recognize our Vietnam veterans tonight. As we all know, they didn't get the reception coming home that they deserved. None of our servicemen and women pick the battles that they go into. That's up to the president and Congress, but they go and they do their duty, and they deserve our full measure of honor and support and esteem for their service. So our proclamation reads, whereas the Vietnam War Veterans Recognition Act of 2017 officially established March 29th as National Vietnam War Veterans Day, whereas in 2012, the United States of America Vietnam War commemoration was authorized by Congress, established under Secretary of Defense and by presidential proclamation, whereas the City of Vista recognizes the importance of continuing the 13-year commemoration of the 50th anniversary of the Vietnam War with the official observance extending until Veterans Day, November 11, 2025, this initiative aims to honor Vietnam veterans and their families for their unwavering service and sacrifices made for our nation, particularly in their efforts to serve our nation's call during the war, supporting the defense of South Vietnam, promoting the values of freedom and self-determination, while also acknowledging the significant sacrifices made by our veterans in their pursuit of liberty. And I'll add to that, fighting communism. Whereas in 1967, nearly 500,000 American troops were deployed to South Vietnam alongside approximately 850,000 troops from allied nations, whereas the turbulent cultural and political climate at that time, coupled with the widespread opposition to the war, resulted in many returning veterans not receiving the respect and recognition they rightly deserved for their honorable service to our nation. Whereas we recognize our obligation to support Vietnam veterans and their families in healing from the profound effects of war, we honor the more than 58,000 individuals whose names are inscribed on Black Granite Wall in our nation's capital. And for those of us who've been there, very moving. And we acknowledge their ultimate sacrifice, including 9 of our fellow Vista residents, and we pay homage, to the courageous individuals who endured captivity as prisoners of war. We remain resolute in our commitment to seek accountability for the 1,253 heroes that have yet to return to American soil, including one of our Vista residents. Whereas we will honor and pay tribute to all of those who answered our nation's call to serve with steadfast dedication as our city pledges to provide enduring respect and ongoing support and a lasting commitment to all Vietnam veterans. Whereas Vietnam veterans can take pride in their enduring legacy, characterized by patriotism, bravery, resilience, and the pursuit of freedom, along with their ongoing contributions to their communities. Now, therefore, the mayor, I, and the Vista City Council members acknowledge the National Vietnam Recognition Act, which officially designates March 29th of each year as a day for all Americans to reflect upon and encourages all residents of Vista to honor, acknowledge, and express gratitude to those who responded to the ultimate call of duty, and hereby proclaim March 29th, 2025 as Vietnam Veterans Day in the city of Vista. Thank you, sir. Thank you. You want to say a few words?
On behalf of the 432 members of the Vista Memorial Post 7041, of the Veterans of Foreign Wars, and Chapter 1147 of the Vista, or of the Vietnam Veterans of America, we accept this proclamation. Thank you.
And if there are any veterans that want to come forward and take a photo with us, we'd love to have you. How about you, Gary? Anybody else who served, please come forward.
Come right in the center. Come right in the center. We're gonna.
I just have to add to that I got to attend a number of events a few years ago when more than 1,000 local Vietnam veterans were honored at several events hosted by members of Congress throughout our community. And to see those veterans come and be recognized after so many years of neglect was really something and was very moving. And I remember that as I read that proclamation. So thank you again to all those who served in Vietnam and all those who served our country. Any member of the public may address the city council tonight on agency-related matters that are not on the agenda by requesting to speak during this section of the agenda. If you're participating via Zoom, please use the raise your hand feature or press *9 if you'd like to speak. The number of speakers that will be heard during this segment is limited to 10. Any remaining speakers will be heard under the second oral communications item. And we do have a number, it looks like. We have 4 oral communication speakers. We'll start with Don Taylor, followed by Ashkin Jones and Mary Corey. If you heard your name called, would you please go ahead and come sit in the front row so that you can be ready to speak when your turn is called?
Here I am once again advocating for cigarette smoke in apartment complexes. And it's not getting any better, it's getting worse. I'm now on my 3rd round of antibiotics from the doctor recently, this last week. The smoke coming through the vents and through the baseboards and through the light fixtures. Like I said before, I don't care if anybody smokes. They just shouldn't be smoking in apartment complexes where our health is being compromised. So I'm here once again advocating for non-smokers and children who have asthma, who've been sent to the hospital with asthma attacks. I really, really implore you to think on this, please, because night after night, sitting in an apartment where it's engulfed in smoke, and then your health is compromised on it. And I'm doing everything at my age at this time to try and stay healthy. But I don't think it's really fair that non-smokers have to deal with this. Now, if the managers don't do anything about it, and the owner won't do anything about it, and I come to you, who else do I go to? Who else do I go to? Do I just stay sick? Or can you do something about it for us? Thank you.
Ashkin Jones, followed by Mary Corey.
Good evening. Tonight I'm here to address influence peddling in our local government. People will recall the City Council recently discussed what should be done with the Wave Water Park here in Vista. Every public comment before the City Council, including the mayor's predecessor who's on his side of the aisle, opposed the idea of leasing our water park because of the impact it could have on our sports teams and because it's very likely to increase ticket prices on our residents. Despite this, the mayor rushed to put out an RFP to lease out the water park. Not only that, he also specifically suggested leasing it out to the company that manages the Wave Water Park, Pacifica. So to determine why the mayor flagrantly disregarded the wishes of our constituents here, I looked at his financial disclosure forms and discovered the CEO of Pacifica, the same company he wants to have leased the water park out to, maxed out to his campaign for supervisor. Not the workers, not the lawyers, the CEO of Pacifica. This is unfortunately legal because of terrible court decisions, but the money he's taken, followed by trying to give our city property away to the same donors, tells us who he's looking out for. The city of Vista deserves a mayor who isn't compromised. We deserve a mayor who listens to his constituents and isn't simply bought and paid for by donors. I remember the first time I ever spoke to the mayor was at the Minority Leaders Press Conference, and when I mentioned I don't trust the minority leader because he's one of the biggest recipients of big tobacco money in the state legislature, the mayor ran away from the conversation. For the mayor to go after groups like Universidad Popular for being activists because they protest a bill when it's not in the interest of their community, while the mayor is up here being an activist for CEOs because they paid him, is insane. This isn't his only example of influence peddling. The mayor's also received max contributions from the CEO of Ace Parking, another company with a vested interest in privatizing infrastructure. So rather than berating constituents and city council members when they point out how the mayor supports a corporate takeover of the city, maybe he should take a cold look in the mirror.
Thank you for those comments, replete with falsehoods. Next is Mary Corey.
Hello, I'm a resident of Vista, Mary Corey, and congratulations to all the local heroes. That was wonderful to hear. And thank you for offering this forum where residents can speak freely. Last week, we were shocked to learn that the lawless Trump immigration officials kidnapped, tortured, and disappeared American residents. They rounded up people at their immigration appointments and in their homes and flew them to vile prisons in El Salvador, all without any due process or access to legal support, which is a clear violation of our Constitution. The Trump regime is proud of what they've done, and because cruelty is the point, they made slick videos demeaning the detained men, many who are not criminals or gang members, but innocent human beings now caught up in a dystopian nightmare. And after these actions, now our president's team are disobeying court orders to stop, and they fully intend to continue treating immigrants with disrespect and to continue lying and covering it up. ICE, DHS, and Border Patrol have brought disgrace to our country as the rest of the world condemns these inhumane actions. ICE has been revealed to be a secret police force conducting ethnic cleansing, and the whole world is watching us and waiting to see how the American people will react. We must stand up against this hateful cruelty and in defense of our human and civil rights. And so once again, I urge our city council to publicly and officially rebuke the mayor's desire to require our local law enforcement to assist ICE in their interactions with immigrant residents. In February, he stood in public support for the proposed California law that would dilute our state's sanctuary laws. A strong rebuke is necessary for us to know that not all of our leaders share the mayor's views. And I wonder what else our city can do. I work at a community college that posts signs, sends messages, and creates events to let our undocumented community know that they are welcome and that the college will defend their rights. Could our city council or staff consider similar acts? Especially when our president threatens, intimidates, and scares immigrants daily in a nation founded to welcome immigrants. We all need to stand up individually to protect our vulnerable neighbors, and we need to urge our city officials to use the public megaphones that we've given them to counteract hate and fight for the human and civil rights of all Vista residents. In Martin Luther King Jr.'s words, the ultimate tragedy is not the oppression and cruelty by bad people, but the silence over that by the good people. Thank you again for offering this.
Mary Davis, followed by Justin. Please hold your applause. Mary Davis, followed by Justin Damasio.
Hi, good evening. Mary Davis here. I'm here tonight as an accountability partner to provide feedback on the recent cannabis festival that your city allowed to happen in a public venue. For the record, I am adamantly opposed to commercialized marijuana for a variety of reasons, but I do believe there is a place for medicinal marijuana. And because I believe in transparency, I wanted to fully disclose that. Now for my report. I was at the exterior of the venue for about 3 to 4 hours, and I got the opportunity to monitor the peripheral happenings for a bit, and I did see and smell a few funny things outside the venue that were problematic. So I wanted to give you a perspective that you might not get from the promoter. First of all, it was severely understaffed. There was a long wait to get in, up to 3 hours for some people. A lot of people, they were offering refunds, there was some grumbling, but it was a long line on a semi-hot day. And then two, I also have OSHA concerns for your deputies. You had a lot of deputies there. I don't know if it was an overtime assignment or part, but the deputies, the ones who are drug tested as a condition of their employment, were put in known proximity to a drug that could cause impairment, affect their personal safety, and cause employment problems were they to be drug tested? Where were the precautions for your deputies to prevent exposure and to protect their personal health, safety, and employment? Then 3, it was not until later afterwards that I learned that a former councilman had paved the way for all of this to happen, for pot legalization in your city and also as a co-promoter of the festival. This continues to be a troubling trend that I've seen of activist profiteers who run for office to get their version in. And in fact, when I did more research, this is what I found.
I don't want to do a half-assed job as an elected official. The things I wanted to accomplish when I got elected, which they were really 3 things: improve communication, legalize cannabis, and fix that Vista sign. Those are the 3 things. And I know it sounds a little shallow, but when I was running for office, I was like, look.
And so he did get it legalized. Now he's pushed the envelope into a public venue. Many people seem to want to compare marijuana and alcohol consumption, but there is a huge difference. Just as the lady spoke about the apartments, if you do shots of whiskey in your own house or at a festival, you will impair, your own house, and you are only affecting yourself, right? Unless you choose to drive. But smoke is transient and it wafts and it impacts other people. In light of all of this, I'm asking you to say no to any future cannabis festival. Lastly, a fiscal reminder. While marijuana may be legal at the state level, it is illegal at the federal level. If the state of California and your city of Vista knowingly choose to thumb their nose at federal law, then please be prepared for the consequences, perhaps even losing federal tax dollars. Thank you.
Thank you. Justin Damasio, followed on Zoom by Becky Rapp, and then Madison.
All right. Hi, I have something I think a bit more uplifting than all of the other comments. No shade to anyone else. Thank you for airing yourself. My grandma passed away recently in September of 2024, and I have been trying to figure out how to put into words why she was so happy to die in Vista. And to be honest, for a long time I couldn't. The grief, I was her full-time hospice caregiver. The grief impeded me with a degree in words from finding it. But today brought me out because we were honoring Sarah Spinks. And so I wanted to talk about how watching Sarah and getting to know her and being her friend for several years has really made me realize, from the time I was a teenager until now, pushing 30, why Vista is a wonderful place to live. I feel like increasingly people are becoming more partisan, more divided, more terrorized by the news. And then I think of people like Sarah Spinks that embody activism consistently in every part of their life. And I want to be that person. I don't want to be the person at the podium that's always upset. I want to be the person that says only losers litter. My grandma's favorite sculpture, ironically, was one of Sarah Spinks's. It was a sculpture on Main Street where you could yell into something with like a megaphone. My grandma loved it. She thought it was cute and she wanted to yell into it, but at that point her lungs were too weak to yell fully. And I didn't realize until then just how much Sarah Spinks had been a part of my grandma's journey. And it wasn't until the end that I realized how much she's been a part of my journey as an activist and a Vistian. Having lived in other parts of the county, Escondido and San Marcos, I can say that Vista feels like home because we're simultaneously hardworking, but also laid back. We're forgiving and we're kind, but we're also not pushovers. And I think that that's why I'm so happy the city is recognizing Sarah, because she shows that there's a form of activism and civic engagement that is consistent, ethical, and kind, and it's an aspiration and role model we should all aspire to be. So I want to thank her sincerely for helping put into words why Vista is so wonderful and why it was a great place for my grandma to go over the Rainbow's Bridge. So thank you to Sarah and the Vista City Council for recognizing her tremendous dedications, and I wanted to share that story with you and the story of my grandma because she touched people she didn't even really get to know that well. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologize, but you are required to hold your applause at this time per our ordinance. So please observe our decorum in the chamber. Our next speaker is Becky Rapp on Zoom, followed by Madison.
Good evening, City Council. My name is Becky Rapp, and as a city, that has chosen to promote marijuana use and public smoking against the majority of city residents' approval. I'm here to urge you to take immediate action in response to a new study highlighting the dangerous influence of marijuana normalization, specifically advertising on our youth. This study reveals that children and teenagers are seeing social media ads for marijuana that make the drug seem fun, harmless, and even beneficial. These ads use bright colors, enticing flavors, and young-looking influencers, strategies directly linked to increased interest and use among teens. The research is clear. The more young people engage with these ads, the more likely they are to try the drug. This is a public health crisis, and today's marijuana products are up to 23 times stronger than they were 50 years ago. And early use is linked to memory issues, cognitive decline, anxiety, depression, and addiction. We cannot allow misleading marketing to dictate the choices of our youth. Los Angeles County has already taken action. Their campaign, partnering with the Department of Public Health and the Office of Education, features multilingual billboards, bus stop ads, and social media outreach to warn teens and parents about the dangers of high-potency pot. Vista has an opportunity to follow their lead as possibly the first city in San Diego County to be proactive about education. We are allowing misinformation and social media trends to shape our youth's decisions, and I urge this council to take immediate steps to launch a similar citywide awareness campaign, implement stricter local advertising regulations, and dedicate tax revenue for marijuana sales to prevention, specifically youth prevention programs. Thank you.
Madison on Zoom.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, City Council members. Tonight, I want to highlight an important development from our neighboring city of El Cajon that I believe Vista should follow. A couple weeks ago, El Cajon made history by becoming one of the first cities to ban the sale of vaping devices disguised as everyday items, like pens, smartwatches, and even fidget spinners. This new law, which could be the first of its kind in the nation, is designed to protect our children and ensure they are not exposed to vaping devices hidden in seemingly harmless objects. El Cajon's law carries significant penalties for violators, with fines of up to $2,500 per offense, and the possibility of losing a tobacco retailer's license for repeated violations. These tough measures are intended to send a clear message that this behavior will not be tolerated. Why should we take note of this here? Well, it's clear that these disguised vaping devices are a growing concern for middle schoolers and high schoolers. I recently attended the North Coastal Prevention Coalition meeting where a panel of students from Vista High School spoke about the reasons they see their peers using harmful substances like cannabis and what they think could help. They mentioned how teens at Vista High School often choose marijuana over tobacco, thinking it is safer. This is a public health issue and an education issue. Schools are already spending thousands of dollars to educate our kids, but these devices make it nearly impossible for students to stay focused and safe in school. Vista should follow El Cajon's lead in banning these disguised devices. By doing so, we can protect our youth from the dangers of vaping, prevent further harm to our schools, and ensure that tobacco retailers are held accountable for their actions. Thank you so much for the time.
Okay, that'll close the opportunity for public comment during this meeting. It'll bring us to our consent calendar. The recommendations on the following consent calendar will be enacted in one motion unless an item is removed from the calendar. Any member of the public may remove an item by submitting a request to speak card, put to the clerk's secretary, or by using the raise their hand feature on Zoom, or by pressing *9. Items removed from the consent calendar will be considered immediately following the adoption of the consent calendar. We have 12 consent calendar items this evening. And we have item C6 that's been removed by the public, and Councilmember Contreras.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I would like to move approval of the remaining items.
Councilmember O'Donnell?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item is approved unanimously. That will bring us to item C6. And Martha Alvarado, you have 3 minutes to come forward and speak about item C6.
Good evening, Mayor Franklin, Deputy Mayor Melendez, Councilmember Contreras, Councilmember O'Donnell, and Councilmember Fox. My name is Marta Alvarado. I am a trustee on the Vista School Board, but I'm speaking as an individual today. I am here to show my gratitude for the collaboration that we, Vista Unified, have had with all of you to increase safe routes to school in Vista Unified. Specifically, I am very grateful for these roundabouts that are going in off of Beaubier and Calle Jules and Foothill Oak, as that is a heavily trafficked area in our neighborhoods, and our students will be safer when those construction projects are completed. I'd like to ask you respectfully to continue to work with us to increase safe routes to school at our new VITA location that will be placed at the old Rancho Minerva Middle School, as that is an area that needs a lot of attention and support for community members and our families and our students in Vista Unified. So again, I'm here to thank you for the collaboration and to respectfully ask that we continue to work together to make the quality of life for our students safer and for our families. Thank you.
Councilmember Contreras.
Thank you so much for those comments. I know how important it is for our families, regardless of the method of transportation, to be able to get to school safely. And so I'm really thankful that we have a council and a majority that has moved forward to create the infrastructure that our generations of Vistans have wanted for a long time. I am extremely excited to see these finished and to continue layering on top of that more strategies for safety. I'll go ahead and move approval of this item, but I want to just call attention to the new VITA location. Just to let everybody know, am working with Vista Unified School District and North County Transit District as your representative at North County Transit District to have a conversation about how we can continue to have our students arrive to the new VITA location safely and on time. So thank you so much.
Deputy Mayor Melendez.
I will second that to approve this item.
Okay, and I'm not going to vote for this because I didn't support the roundabouts and I voted against them in previous rounds of voting on them. I don't like that they bring traffic to one lane in either direction, and I think they're too small for the road. If they were properly devised, I would support them, but I don't like the proliferation of roundabouts that are inappropriately sized, that cause traffic to have choke points. I think ultimately motorists are not going to be happy with these, and so I don't support them. I just wanted to make that clear for the public. And seeing no other comments, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. Okay, that item is passed with 4 votes in favor and 1 against, and that will bring us to item D1. Our first discussion item this evening is Operation Hope, North County, request for funding. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature, by pressing *9, or by submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Council members Contreras and Fox ask this item to be placed on the agenda. Councilmember Fox will introduce the item. Councilmember Fox.
Thank you, Mayor. I wanted to thank Councilmember Contreras for bringing this to me, to my attention, and joining me on bringing this motion today. And I want to thank city staff for all the hard work that they did to put this together. I know it's a lot of work. So I had the opportunity to tour Operation Hope a few weeks ago and see the amazing services that they provide to our community. And Esperanza and her amazing team, got to meet them, and it came to our attention that they were anticipating a major financial hurdle, and that our community was at risk of losing an amazing resource. And so we wanted to bring it to council to see if there's anything we could do to help this organization and make sure that they're able to survive this. We were able to speak with the city manager and the staff, and we believe we have some available funding sources to be able to take care of this without affecting the current budget. And with that, Esperanza, would you like to take it away?
Good evening. Thank you so much to the City Council for your time and for your attention to this matter, especially Councilmember Fox and Councilmember Contreras for ensuring that this made it onto the agenda tonight, and for the support of our city manager for his insight and wisdom, and for the continued support of everybody on the council. Everyone has, over the past 6 months since I started in the role as executive director in August, I've been able to meet with every single person on this council via site visits, via phone calls. So it really shows the city's commitment and dedication to the work that we do and our mission. My name is Esperanza, and I proudly serve as Executive Director of Operation Hope. And tonight I'm here to represent our clients, our incredible alumni, our board, our staff, and our incredible mission, which is to create a safe environment for families and for single women who are experiencing homelessness. So I want to start by just highlighting the long history of Operation Hope North County and the City of Vista. Again, we are incredibly grateful for the support. As you all know, our shelter was started in 2003 by local Vista City residents. And we are one of the few and most established high barrier shelters that exist in the North County region. In 2012, when we acquired the property that we have now from this Vista Community Clinic, the city was essential in helping us with our capital campaign, providing us a $200,000 loan that was forgivable, and another loan in 2012 of $225,000, all towards the property, in contingents that we would keep running as an operating shelter after 2030. So I just want to start by thanking the city for their commitment to helping our families and single women provide pathways, to stability and to economic mobility. It says a lot, and we want to acknowledge the support you've given in the past and the continued support of this important work. The pledges allowed us to open our shelter in 2012, and we proudly have 12 rooms. At max capacity, we serve 45 individuals. And since our inception, we've served over 1,800 individuals. In addition, in 2017, we added our boutique, and in 2020, we added the food pantry, which proudly remains open weekly, serving over 2,000 individuals a year and over 100,000 pounds of food annually. Go to the next slide, thank you. And we also want to highlight our alignment to the Vista's strategic plan on homelessness that started in 2012. We see so much synergy there. So this partnership makes sense for so many reasons. Number one, we really want to highlight community collaborations. That's a shared value between us. A lot of the programs that we provide for our families and for our children are community-led programs with Vista Community Clinic and other local CBOs and nonprofits in the area. Our meal provider program, we have the City of Vista as a meal provider, many churches in the area. I could stand here for 5 minutes and talk about all the wonderful church support that we have. A lot of individual donors that we've had for years and years, and community members that come to the shelter to volunteer at our pantry, to be a part of our meal provider program, to volunteer at the boutique. So again, like the City of Vista, we value collaborations, we value community partnerships. We are valuing extremely data-driven approaches and measurable impact. So we are very data-driven and committed to monitoring our data, reflecting on our data, refining our data, and sharing that data transparently to the city and to the community. We also, just like the city's strategic plan, really value trust-based case management and personalized support using trauma-informed and person-centered approaches, and treating every individual that's experiencing homelessness with the utmost dignity and respect along the way. We value sharing resources, especially highlighting different community partnerships and working with other homelessness providers in the community. And we pride ourselves on being adaptable and continuing to meet the needs of our community, because as we know, the community needs are always changing, and we really want to customize our approach and be individual to what our families and clients need. The next slide, please. And we really want to highlight our commitment to the city of Vista and the importance of having our shelter in Vista and the pride that goes along with that. And we want to express that we see the need continuing to grow. While we're proud of the 12 rooms that we have, we absolutely know that we need to be doing more and we need to be thinking about expansion because we want to serve our city in a greater way. And this funding will allow us to really start thinking strategically and proactively and creating that long-term vision. Over the past year alone, we had 167 families and 144 individual single women that applied that we weren't able to serve. Our data also shows that over 30% of the clients that we have served are either from the city of Vista or have very close ties to the city of Vista. And we are committed because we've seen in our data and our program impact that while we're able to serve the families of Vista, we are able to have a more long-term impact with those families when they are local. So we're thinking strategically about our outreach efforts, how we can increase and enhance the outreach that we have with the local Vista schools, and how we can increase our street outreach. Also continuing to serve on the City of Vista Homelessness Committee as regular and very avid attendees, and also working closely with the Alliance for Regional Solutions. So I just want to echo our continued commitment to serving the City of Vista, having partnerships in the City of Vista, and deepening our impact here. We are also very committed to expanding our program model and examining other options that would allow us to include low barrier services. So in the future, as we enter our strategic planning process, we're taking the time to really think about what program expansion means. And I've already done local site visits and have several conversations with the city about areas in the community that we could look at for expansion options, and have already started talks with different city and government partners about available funding for capital campaigns in the future. Again, we just wanted to echo how we really do pride ourselves on being one of the only high barrier shelters in the city of Vista and in the North County area. And we also want to just emphasize our approach, which is not, imposing any type of restrictive or time-intensive requirements for our clients. And we really feel like our program is unique, focused on empowering individuals to regain their independence as quickly as possible and setting them up for long-term success and sustainability. We feel our model is distinguished and has a huge potential to scale and deepen its impact. So a couple of data points that we have up here, I just want to highlight. Over 75% of our participants improve their financial and job readiness skills through our financial literacy classes. Over 50% of our clients transition into stable housing upon exiting the program. Over 65% achieve their housing and income goals. And over 100% of the children and youth that we serve are provided additional educational support services and services to meet their individual needs. And as we know, over 60% of our beds are held by children every evening. This slide, we want to talk for a minute about our budget and why we're in this financial predicament, and about how we are closely analyzing our costs. This slide is the data that we pulled from the Alliance for Regional Solution that shows the cost per night for other shelters in the area. So as you can see in FY24, our cost was $78 a night. We feel, based on the slide, we are lower on the lower end of the cost per night for our services, which we are very proud of. We really do pride ourselves on being nimble with our costs and efficient with our costs. And the report that I submitted did show that our cost is now in FY25 $93 per night. So if you go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about our budget. So our budget for FY25 is $1.355 million. As you can see, we are really proud. We have already raised and secured almost $900,000 in funding. And that is thanks to our incredible funders, to our incredible board, our staff for doing the incredible work that they do. Over 26% of our funding is coming from individual donors, 46% from foundations, 17% from other government sources. We received government funding from Supervisor Jim Desmond's office, Tara Lawson-Reamer's office, funding from the Community Development Block Grants from the City of Vista as well. So we are doing a really, really hard work to diversify our funding streams and have a lot of long-term supporters. Unfortunately, from the report that I submitted, we did identify this year that we do have a budget gap of 34%, which is $460,000. And unfortunately, you can go to the next slide, please. We are noticing that with the economy, it's having an impact on our fundraising. That's one of the issues. That's mainly due to inflation. You know, the cost of services for our shelter have gone up. The cost of supplies have gone up. The cost of vendor contracts have gone up. We've also seen a major decrease in almost every single donor that we have. We've seen decreased giving across the board. We feel like that's due to one of the reasons it being an election year. A lot of the data shows in election years, you will see a drop in donors because of the economic uncertainty that a lot of people face. So there's a lot of different reasons that we feel is why we're in this predicament. Also, as you know, I started this role in August, so we did have a little bit of a gap in some of our key leadership positions, which unfortunately, that does hurt relationship building, and it hurts some of the momentum that we had going with some of our external partners. I'm here to say proudly that I'm so excited to be in this role and to be giving the organization stable leadership moving forward. I have no plans to go anywhere, and I'm just so excited about this organization. I've worked in nonprofit for 20 years. I've been in executive leadership for 10 years, and I can proudly say that the work that we're doing is incredibly impactful. We have an incredible community of supporters, and I know under the right leadership and under long-term leadership, there's no doubt in my mind we will be able to sustain our funding and develop the strong, diverse revenue streams that we know will keep the shelter operating, for a long time, hopefully forever. So we are very confident about the work we were doing. We're entering a strategic planning process in April. We welcome members of the city to be a part of that stakeholder committee when we get the committee going to help us really define what this next phase of growth and impact will look for us. So we're thinking very strategically about the next phase and have a lot of great 20 years of impact, 20 years of data, 20 years of partnerships, of donors that are backing us for the incredible work that we do. If you can go to the next slide, please. Actually, to the next one. Thank you. And we want to start by highlighting our commitment to accountability. We realize that this is a significant amount of funding, and we do not take those dollars we take them very seriously. And we want to show you our commitment if we are approved for this funding. Number one, we want to highlight the strategic plan is going to be a big part of this, and we welcome partnership and collaboration with that. We also are committed, as I said, to exploring the low barrier shelter model and how that can be a part of our program model so that we can increase our services and impact. We are committed to enhancing our shelter and looking for additional sources for rental assistance for our community members and improving our facility. And really just continuing to get feedback from our clients so that we can increase our impact and meet their needs. And as I mentioned, we are deeply committed to ensuring that long-term impact and sustainability, diversifying our funding streams, leveraging data-driven decisions, fostering partnerships for community change. And again, we are an active member of the Vista Homelessness Committee, so we are committed to regular reporting there and at the City Council members to update you on our fiscal and impact reports on a regular basis. As I said, we're very data-driven and totally committed to sharing that data transparently with the community so you can understand how those dollars are being used and what we're learning along the way. And then if you can go to the previous slide. And I just wanted to, we put a couple of quotes up here, but I do want to be mindful of my time. We have a couple of alumni here tonight that will speak directly about their experience in the shelter and the impact the shelter has had on them. But I wanted to end by just highlighting and celebrating the incredible clients that I get to see every single day in the shelter, the incredible alumni. I'm literally getting chills as I say this. Seeing their faces every day and hearing their stories is just so inspiring. Their resilience, their perseverance, and their dedication to their families. the mothers who have overcome domestic violence, who have overcome generational poverty, cycles of oppression. We want to end by honoring those who have achieved greater economic mobility through education, through resourcefulness, and through their unwavering spirit of hope. So thank you to the city. We deeply appreciate your support, your time, your partnership, and your consideration of this request.
Councilmember Fox, anything else for your presentation before we move on?
No, I think that covered it. So if do we want to have any of the people's
Yep, we have a couple of public speakers.
Okay, it's part of the public comment. Yeah, I think that's good.
So we'll now hear from our public commenters on this item. We'll start with Martha Avalos and then Jeanette Godinez. If you would, go ahead and come forward and be ready to speak.
Good afternoon. My name is Martha. I have 3 kids. I'm a former Operation Hope alumni. Operation Hope has been a major source of support in my life. I was out of a job. My youngest was just 3 months old, and I was in my last year at the California State University. My kids and I fled from my ex-husband in my old RV due to aggression and financial exploitation. My RV started to present mechanical problems. I searched the web for nearby shelters, and I ran into Operation Hope. Operation Hope accepted me with my kids. They provided a room for us, and they even allowed me to park my RV outside. This wonderful shelter connected me with resources, where a mechanic volunteered to fix my RV. Once fixed, I was able to sell my RV and save money for a future down payment toward my apartment. While at Operation Hope, dinner was provided from wonderful and caring food donors. I was able to live rent-free for about 5 months and save money for my apartment. Operation Hope was able to connect me with state-funded daycare providers so that I can attend college classes during the day. The staff and residents at Operation Hope were very loving. One day I remember coming back to the shelter with my kids, and my bedroom was fully decorated with flowers and a banner that read, "Congratulations, graduate." This was a very beautiful moment for my kids and I. I felt a sense of accomplishment that I can't describe. Operation Hope also paid for my cap and gown for my graduation ceremony. The love I received was inspiring and uplifting. I graduated from California State University while at Operation Hope with my 3 young kids. I completed my bachelor's in psychology with a minor in communication. With the experience I obtained, I got inspired to pursue my master's in social work. I'm in the process of applying to a master's in social work program so that I can continue to help others. I am inspired to empower survivors of domestic violence. I absolutely feel that programs such as Operation Hope are necessary towards helping such victims. My hope is that more programs like this get developed around different communities. Operation Hope was life-changing for me, and it can do the same for others. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeanette, I apologize. If you would, please hold your applause per our ordinance. Jeanette Godinez.
Good evening, Council. It's an honor to be here again with you guys. My name is Jeanette, and I am an alumni from Operation Hope. I arrived to Operation Hope March 2023. Before coming to Operation Hope, I was very, very addicted to substance abuse. I did drugs for so many years, in and out of jails, institutions, homelessness. My addiction took me to sleeping in porta potties, eating out of dumpsters, having no hope, no goals, no aspirations, and running away from an abusive relationship. When I was offered the opportunity to come into Operation Hope, I was received with a family, a love, a help and peace that I never received in my life before. I had my son. My son was about a month and a half old. And we were there for a little over 8 months. I graduated and transitioned out January 2024. My time at Operation Hope was just amazing. Everything I learned there has built a foundation and has given me the life that I have today. I learned many things, from parenting to how to manage a credit to how to budget my money, how to be able to pay my bills. They helped me setting me up with a housing. I am still in the same housing that I have been since I left. I have been grateful enough to be able to pay my bills, pay my car, pay my rent. I'm a single mother. I've been able to hold a job. Not only have I been able to hold the job, but I've learned so much to where I've been able to be promoted in my job. I am now a lead of the production floor manager, and I owe that all to Operation Hope. I am, till this day, there's so many things that I can be grateful for. I have case managers that I can go back to. I have the pantry. I have so much support from them, and I owe that all to them and to the city that helps us, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Councilmember O'Donnell.
I just want to start off by thanking both of you for sharing your stories. I know that's not easy to do. Jeanette, I listened to you speak at the opening of the boutique as well, and I was extremely touched by your story. And I also want to give a little shout out to your little guy there. Most youngsters aren't this excited to be at a council meeting, but I'm glad to see that I got a little guy at home too, so it's fun to watch. Esperanza, I really appreciate it. I don't know if you can step. I just got a couple questions for you. I know you and I sat down for about an hour and 15 minutes, and I really appreciate that time. I drilled you with a bunch of questions that day. I'm not going to do the same today, but I do have one question regarding funding, because I understand why we're here from the transition with leadership and employees and all of that. Are you guys considering or taking into account any budget shortfalls that may eliminate funding from the state, federal, or even local governments due to shortfalls in the budget?
Yes, that's a great question. Luckily, since we are high barrier, most of the federal funding that would we normally qualify for, we don't qualify for because of the high barrier. Most of that funding is allocated specifically for low barrier. Another reason why we're considering the expansion into low barriers so we can have more diversified funding streams. The main funding that we receive that could be a trickle down from the federal is the community development block grants, which at this time we haven't heard any significant worries. I actually had a call with every single partner that has given us community development funding over the past month, and they all encourage us to apply. Most of them are starting in July, except for Escondido, which just opened. So each partner encouraged us to apply. They didn't give us any kind of warning or concern that they felt that funding would be reduced. So as of this time, we are hopeful that that funding will remain the same. Overall, it is under, I would say, around 5 to 8% of our overall budget. So even if we did not receive that funding, we are putting that into our strategic plan as a contingency plan when we think about funding strategies for the future.
That's good to hear. So when you talk about low barrier, you're talking about in addition to high barrier shelter that
Yes.
you currently have. Good. Yeah, I mean, I think when you and I spoke, one of my largest concerns is that we wouldn't be in this position again next year. And I know that you gave me a good answer, and I think tonight you've kind of explained some of the actions that you'd be taking to try and alleviate that concern and moving forward, what you'll be doing to raise money. And I really look forward to that success because you all do have a great program. From the work assistance to the families, not just helped, but really saved. I've heard so many stories when I've toured that facility. I've been there with Rotary Club as well, serving dinner, and the people are always so friendly and kind. They're happy to be there. The boutique has been so successful that you actually turned down my donation because they weren't brand new clothes, which I was okay and I understood. The food pantry is always packed, so I know the community supports the work that you're doing. I appreciate the expansion on the idea of a long-term vision. As I told you then, I really don't want to be here next year in the same situation, but I'm going to be supportive of this. I'm not going to make the motion because I didn't bring it forward, but I am supportive of it. And I want the public to understand the benefit that Operation Hope brings to our communities, not just in Vista, but through all throughout North County. What you've grown into from what used to be a limited few-month shelter into helping 1,500 individuals. The fact that you had to turn down 167 families and 144 single women, it really breaks my heart, because I know those are services that are desperately needed for those individuals, and I don't want to see that grow even larger. So I appreciate you being here tonight. I appreciate the presentation and your work with the city and our staff and with this council to try and make this happen. I hope that you are not here next year. I don't know if I'd be able to support it 2 years in a row, but I want you to know that I appreciate every single individual you've helped, the work that you do for our community, and I will look forward to your golf outing coming up in the near future. But thank you so much.
Thank you. We appreciate you. Thank you very much. I appreciate the great questions too and the support. Thank you.
Councilmember Fox.
Perfect. Thank you. I want to also echo that gratitude for the stories tonight. Very inspiring. I'm glad that they were able to, help you turn your life around and give you the life that you have today. That's really amazing. So I know it's really important that this is a really important asset to our community. I mean, the 150 plus individuals that go through your program from 50 plus families a year are people that really need your help and that wouldn't get it if you don't exist. So that's why I thought it was important to bring this today. It's one thing that I think you mentioned on the trip is that a lot of your clients in your program are in there for about 3 to 6 months. Is that correct?
Yes.
So it's a fairly quick program. I mean, even sometimes our navigation center kind of starts approaching the lower number of those. And you're getting people from that as a transition to permanent housing, which is, I think, a really important thing. I also think that the high barrier shelters are a really important part of the overall homelessness strategy. Like it's a key piece in the whole funnel. So we have to make sure that we have representation and services at all the different levels. And so I think it's important that we make sure to preserve all of them. So
I would just like to clarify for anybody who doesn't know what high barrier means.
Yeah.
I meant to say, high barrier means that anyone that comes to our shelter has to pass a drug test and a mental health screening. Not that they can't need mental health services, but they would have to have doctors and be getting medication and be medicated, and would also have to commit to drug testing while they're in the shelter. And the reason why we have that is because over 60% of our clients are children. So it's very important for us that we're creating a safe environment for the children. Hence why we have those, that is our approach to it, and that's why we have the high barrier. So if we were to look at the low barrier, it would be separate, but it is something that we think we can increase and expand to under our umbrella.
Right. Absolutely. And I think that's why it's such an important part, is we have to make sure that we don't have kids in Vista going unhoused. That's a very important thing to do. So I would like to at least offer the motion to approve the one-time.
I think we have one more alumni that came to speak, if she's allowed, or if there's time.
We're going to call her up next.
Okay.
Okay. Well then, yeah, I'll quickly make the motion to approve the one-time grant for the specified amount, and to have Operation Hope report back with how the funds are used and how that's affected your organization. But I'll let the rest of the council and of course the other alumni speak before we go anywhere.
Okay, and our last public commenter is Amanda Romero.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for squeezing me in. My name is Mrs. Amanda Romero. In 2018, my husband Sabino and I were living in Vista with our 2 children when we decided to have one more to complete our family. But just 1 year later, everything began to unravel. Our newborn was hospitalized with RSV. I was recovering from a C-section and my disability claim was denied. My husband worked 2 jobs, our only car broke down, and my mother was in hospice care. We were doing our best to hold it together, but we were losing ground really fast. I'll never forget the day that I was on the train speaking on the phone about our situation, how we were facing eviction with nowhere to go and our savings completely gone. A fellow community member and a client of Operation Hope overheard me. She gently leaned in and shared the name of the shelter that had helped her, and that moment changed everything. When we arrived at Operation Hope, we were exhausted, grieving, and overwhelmed. We had tried to do everything right, and yet we were broken physically, emotionally, and financially. Operation Hope met us with compassion and dignity. They didn't just give us a room and clean towels, they gave us structure and support and a path forward. Through case management and classes, we began to recognize that we were not just in a crisis, we were experiencing a trauma and that we were not alone. In one of the classes, the speaker shared from his own life and taught us how to set specific, meaningful goals. When we shared ours, he validated them and encouraged us with practical steps to move forward. That encouragement lit a spark in us. Our goals were very simple: find stable housing near work and public transit, pursue education through our employer, and save for a second vehicle. And over time, with guidance and continued support from Operation Hope Shelter, we achieved them. Today, we are still in the same home we moved into after leaving the shelter, and I'm working toward my degree in Health and Human Services, inspired by the people and the purpose I witnessed at that shelter. And yes, it is our second car that allowed me to be here tonight and to give back. Operation Hope didn't just help us to survive, they helped us grow. What started as a desperate search for shelter became the beginning of something new. Our fixed mindset turned into a growth mindset, and the hope we found there continues to grow in us and through us as we pay it forward. So when you ask, should this shelter be awarded funding, I hope that you will consider this. You wouldn't just be funding a building, you'd be investing in families like mine, in transformation, in resilience, and in futures rebuilt from the ground up. In closing, I just want to say that when you're experiencing homelessness, hope is a very risky investment. But at Operation Hope Shelter, they bet on you, and it's an investment with a decades-long track record of multiplying solutions for people experiencing homelessness right here in the city of Vista.
Thank you. Councilmember Contreras?
Thank you so much. I mean, I have to, of course, echo what was said before and really appreciate your stories. I know it's not easy to share. It was even harder to go through it, right? To experience that. But, you know, this is exactly what we want to see in our community. Not just the idea that you can do better, but the resources that you can do better, right? And a commitment from an organization and from staff saying, we believe in you. And that is ultimately priceless. So when I see that we have an organization that collaborates so well with the city in trouble, where they may not be able to continue these services for the next 3 months, I'm really thankful that we had that conversation. I'm very thankful to Councilmember Fox. This is, after all, in his district, but I'm just across the street in District 1. And listen, when it comes to helping folks that are experiencing homelessness or have a high level of housing insecurity, we need every single tool. We need low barrier shelter, and we need high barrier shelters. And the type of high barrier shelter that Operation Hope is one that doesn't look down on low barrier shelters, which is really critical, because there's an understanding that wherever you are coming from, you deserve to be treated with dignity. You deserve to have a human-to-human communication and a love for you and your family. Because sometimes when we're going through struggles, we can't even love ourselves. And that is very true. We see that in our community. We see folks that we want to make sure that there are resources for them because they haven't had that love for themselves, they haven't had that support, and they don't think they'll ever have it. But you are changing lives. You are changing generations. The amount of education that continues to be pursued by folks that go through your program is incredible. And even if you didn't care about the human aspect, as a taxpayer, you should certainly care that we are creating individuals that are going to be participating in their local government and are part of that sales tax revenue at the end of the day, because the purchasing power that you have, that directly benefits everybody else. I wish that we didn't see any numbers listed on folks that aren't able to get in. But the reality is, it is getting harder and harder for individuals by no fault of their own. If you have a job, what do you have to make here per hour to be able to get ahead? How many people have the ability to have $250,000 or more to be able to purchase a house? I think this is a small step that the city can take to ensure a long-term change in our community. And that's not just here in Vista, because we have folks from all over. And these are amazing seeds that are being spread throughout our community as a region in San Diego and possibly beyond, where you have the empowerment and the agency to help others. And so when I see that there's $338,459 that you need to continue these services, of course, I'm going to be here with you. And I want to continue to have conversations and to make actionable plans so that we can help more people. Because everybody deserves a chance, and sometimes you deserve 2, and sometimes you need 3, and sometimes you need more than that. But eventually, when you have a supportive community around you, you get to a different place. And Operation Hope is doing that with countless families. And I just cannot believe that 60% of the individuals that you serve are children. So before I just lose it, because I'm probably the biggest crybaby here on the council, but I really appreciate everything that you do to help our community, and I will happily second the motion from Councilmember Fox. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members, for bringing this item forward. I really appreciate you drawing attention to this topic, and thank you for sharing your testimonies. That was very, very powerful. And Esmeralda, thank you for your leadership. I have a few questions for you. I'm hoping that we can continue a dialogue. As you probably understand, this isn't a typical request for the council to allocate supplemental funding for a nonprofit to help them fill a budget gap. I totally understand a lot of nonprofit organizations are going through it right now, and it can be really, really tough. So I hope that what we can do for you is to do even more than provide funding, but I would like to offer leadership and support to you as you navigate these difficult times. So for me as a council member, with this request, I could absolutely support providing funds for an organization that is deserving. And Operation Hope is absolutely a deserving organization. And not only did the testimonies prove that, of course, that you're a trusted source for shelter services, and you have really, really good outcomes, but your high standards on data and reporting, your high ethical standards and your consistency, you are incredibly deserving of support. And so I hope that the city's support, as I do support this item, would be matched, right, by those in the community that are willing to also see that you are very much a deserving organization. And as such a deserving organization, I want to make sure that you succeed. And I appreciate the comments that my council members have made. Councilmember O'Donnell, you mentioned that, this organization, Operation Hope, as we know, has grown a lot. Sweetie pie, he's cutie pie. your organization has already grown a lot. So we see the potential, right? We know that it's possible for your organization to grow even more. And something you said earlier in your presentation really stuck with me, which is that this funding will allow you to think strategically and long-term about expanding. And I want to talk about that a little bit, because really what this fund, at minimum, this fund helps you to get through this next year, right? And to make sure that we're maintaining shelter services, which are those critical services. But if this funding is even more so about that leadership and long-term vision of what we hope to accomplish in our community, then sign me up, right? Because Operation Hope is absolutely part of the city's goals. And I know myself and the mayor, we serve on a standing committee for our strategic plan to address homelessness. We dedicate a lot of time to this topic. And, it is challenging to know that not only is there a need to expand, but we're currently faced with challenges where not everybody's able to get served, right? So we know we need to expand, because the people we were able to serve before, the volume is just so much higher, right? And we have to show up for people. So I think that this funding, it will get you through this next season, but if we have your commitment to build strategically and build a long-term vision, then I'm confident that you're not going to be coming back next year, right, to request more funds. But there's a couple of things that I would like to go over in order to really build that accountability piece and make sure that for my comments I'm being transparent and I'm providing leadership in this discussion. So seeing that your mission is to offer a safe, caring, and supportive environment to families with children and single women experiencing homelessness as they rebuild their lives and reclaim independence. That's obviously what you're focused on. And it is becoming harder and harder to accomplish that, right? Seeing that you have 144 women not being served and 167 families not being served, it's so clear you have to expand shelter services, but it also becomes really essential for an organization to tighten up and to build in that organizational efficiency, because you do have a significant gap. And you have a generous donor base, but everybody is really tight right now. So staying as close to that vision as possible or reframing it, I think, is really essential. One of the areas that I'm concerned about, I'm just going to be completely honest with you, is the food pantry and the boutique. Now, everybody up here and everybody in the community knows that I really, really care about food programs. I'm very passionate about them. My family received food assistance. I've participated in food distribution. It's something I really believe in, is bringing people access to food. And your food pantry, it opened in 2023. It has been a little bit sooner. So you guys have been operating that for a few years now, and you're serving pretty big volumes of people, right? You're staffing it, you're managing it. It's a lot of work that you're putting into that. And although it's absolutely worthwhile, I do see how it diverges a little bit from that mission statement that you have, right? What could you, and I'm sorry, I wasn't able to see the full report here on my tablet. Maybe you can reflect for us a little bit. What are some of those costs associated with running the food pantry and the boutique?
Can you repeat that part?
Yeah, what are some of the costs associated with running the food pantry and boutique? What are the
It's a great
operational costs
question,
for
and
this?
it's something I'm thinking about constantly, especially in the December when we were full understaffed. And I will say the costs for actually operating both of them are extremely low, like wildly low, to the point where when I think about removing them, it would make no sense whatsoever. All of the food that we get is mostly donated from the San Diego Food Bank and from Feeding San Diego. So our costs on actual produce and the food that we're getting is almost zero. We also received a grant specifically to fund our food pantry manager position. And that was a restricted grant that was just for that. They just wanted to pay for that. So that was, that's literally all the costs. I'd say overall, approximately, don't quote me on this off the top of my head, I would say we spend about $30,000 to operate both the pantry and the boutique for the entire year, and that's serving over 100,000 pounds of food for over any week we have anywhere between up to 150 people come every single week. So to me, I'm like, okay, this is a no-brainer, especially when a lot of it is restricted funding. The highest cost is the cost that we pay for the extra space, which our landlord gave us like a 50% discount on the actual space for those two areas. So when you think about actual cost and even hours in terms of staffing, the person that manages it only works 15 hours a week. Everything else is completely volunteer driven. So but at the same time, it can feel like it takes up a lot of time and energy because it's so active.
Not part of your mission, right? And
Right.
so it's essential, right? Personally, we believe it's essential. But this is where I really loved the slide about accountability, where specifically you talk about refining goals, but also diversifying your funding. So I'm really glad to hear, reported from you that you have a grant funding that staffing position. So although it doesn't fit, neatly and perfectly into your mission, the challenges of providing services to our community is we have to step up when we can. And Operation Hope has done that. You guys have stepped up and provided feeding services and, resource distribution to our community when they need it the most.
I will just add also, it was originally started to be a support services strictly for our alumni, because, for people to be in the shelter and get all this support and then to leave and have nothing just doesn't feel mission aligned. So we really emphasize the need because we want people to have that service when they're leaving as a bridge, for their alumni services when they leave. So it was mostly designed for the alumni, to build that bridge upon them leaving.
And you guys have grown beyond that. And so here's what I'm calling for, is that as you guys are starting to do your strategic planning in April, really give yourself credit for everything that you're doing, right? And if there's changes that you can make to the organization that really capture, right, the fuller vision of what you're doing, then please integrate that, because that's what I believe will help you be successful. It's going to give you a broader reach, and it's going to provide more comfort, right? You're going to be able to launch a bigger ship out there when there's a really clear cohesion of all of your services, right? So that was just one of the areas that the operations that you guys provide, of your food pantry and your boutique, that I think you guys go beyond, right, what your mission statement is in a way that the community absolutely needs, and we want to be able to support that. So please consider expanding your mission, right, to include some of the work that you're already doing, because your numbers and your success and how needed these services are in the community, I think that no one can argue with that, right? But as you go forward this next year and as you prepare to be, solid financially in the next coming months, and, expect that you won't be returning to the city for any further requests, I hope that, and you're continuing to build that vision, that you do integrate the fullness of everything that you guys are doing. So I just appreciate you being here to have that kind of open dialogue, because we don't always get that from organizations, right? I know that if I ever had any question, right, you would be willing to share that data right away. Your transparency is really appreciated in that. And so continue the good work, right, and make sure that you're integrating all of the services into your mission, because we never want to be in a position where something gets left behind, right? When you know that you're serving so many families throughout our community in the diverse services that you are. And I will also chime in to say that I really support you expanding your shelter services to include low barrier shelter. I understand that, or high barrier shelter, because I understand the low barrier model is how you were formed, and that has been essential to serving women and children and families that otherwise wouldn't have a shelter option. But, especially as our council and as our city and our strategic plan to address homelessness, we are going to be doing more outreach. We will have, higher and higher demands for shelter, whether that's through, our enforcement protocols or through our outreach contracts. And just, as the city becomes better and better at addressing this, we know that we're going to need partners and organizations. So I completely support you expanding. I do believe that these funds will help us to reach mutual goals. So I absolutely can support it. Not to mention, Operation Hope is a deeply deserving organization, and you have my greatest respects, and I really appreciate you being able to be transparent, come to us and ask us for support, because we want to support you. So I'll go ahead and third this item and really appreciate you guys bringing it forward.
Thank you. And I just wanted to say two things. One is in the San Diego funding world, they did an analysis, and one of the top things that donors want to give to is food pantry. So there is like this other pool of funding that is available that we would qualify for. So it's an area where we want to keep supporting because it does help us diversify, and it's not taking away money that we would be using for our homeless program. And the other thing I'll just say is we absolutely invite members of the council to be a part of our strategic planning steering committee. We are going to be developing committee, and we deeply want to have an aligned, vision guided by the work of the city and city partners. So please know that we really mean that, and we will be reaching out in April about that when we kick off that process. We are a finalist for under Social Venture Partners, and we feel like we're going to get it. So we're excited about that, to have their support and have that fully funded for us as well. They were really excited about everything we shared about them, especially with our partnership with City of Vista. And I just wanted to add that why I say that this will allow us that time to think strategically, it's because if we don't get this funding, we're going to be in a tight spot, and we're going to be spending the next 3 months figuring out what we do. Do we close? Do we lay off staff? Do we, we'll be in a very frantic kind of mode over the next few months trying to figure out what that means for us, as opposed to actually having the time and space to focus on a strategic plan without this big kind of scary thing happening at the same time. So the next 3 months for us are so critical and so essential, and I don't want to underestimate how much time doing a good strategic plan actually takes. So it will allow us that time to really dive into that process and not feel like we have 5 million things going on and we wouldn't be able to do that process with fidelity. So I hope that helps clarify that.
I want to thank Amanda, Martha, and Jeanette for coming to share their stories. I've been familiar with Operation Hope for a decade now, and was former employees of the City of Vista and Hope Church that partnered to found the organization. So we have a long history with Operation Hope, which is very important and meaningful to us. I think it's incredibly important, the work that you do, providing shelter to women and children and families. And I, for one, and Cindy knows, I've said for a long time, I think it's incredibly important that we do have shelter providers in our community that provide sober shelter for women who are not addicted, for children who have not yet been exposed to narcotic addiction, and even more so for those who are recovering from addiction. To be able to shelter in a sober environment is incredibly important. I also think we should have access to low barrier in the community. I'd certainly would want to see you really think through where your low barrier shelter would happen, and would hope it wouldn't happen in the same facility that I see you shaking your head. No, that's good. But that would be a major expansion of what you're doing with new facilities. And my personal encouragement to you would be to really focus on the work that you're doing with the children and the families that's sober, high barrier, because women and kids deserve a sober place when they don't want to be exposed to active drug use. And I think it's so critical. And so that's why I want to just call out what that really means about, an addict having, a place where they're not being tempted momentarily by other people using around them. I mean, that just couldn't be more important. because we all know treatment is a long process, recovery is a long process with generally a lot of relapse, and the less that people are exposed to others using, the better off they're going to be in recovery. I came to see you, and we had a long conversation, and I told you that I would support a sort of a contract for service model. Solutions for Change needed our help a few years ago. They had a similar situation. They were having a budget shortfall. That isn't what I see. I also explained to staff that that was my desire, and what I would like to see us do is I would like to see us engage in a contract for service, because in that way, the taxpayers are receiving a defined benefit in exchange for a payment. If it's a charitable contribution we're making, then there's a totally new set of information that we kind of have to get into. For instance, I would want to know how many staff you have and what their salaries were. I'd want to see your financials. If you ask any member of the community to give you $400,000, they're going to want to really get inside your books and understand how you're spending the money. And I think that Vista should do the same thing. If we're making a charitable cash infusion, then we want to know how the money's being spent. So I think it would be easier for us to define a service and for you to offer that service at a competitive rate. The city of Vista is providing a defined service. You're receiving critical revenue. I really think that would be superior because otherwise, if we're not going to do that, then at a minimum, what I want to ask is for you to sit down with our City of Vista finance staff and review your financial statements and review your overhead. Think about salaries, lease payments, other existing regular obligations. I don't know what debt you have. These are all things that making an infusion of dollars as big as this kind of demand, because we want to be able to understand that the costs are in line with what another provider might be able to provide similar services for. So I don't know if the council would be amenable to that. What is the timeline of your current situation? Do you know, if we were to make monthly payments or quarterly installments, if we were to make the first quarterly installment up front and then come back and work with you to develop a financial plan where our financial experts here at the city who don't have any, they don't have any political interest, they're just financial experts and could give you some great advice and help you really get on track financially. Is that something that you would be amenable to?
So the way we framed it is that this funding is going to help the remainder of our FY25 budget, which would be for the months of April, May, and June, because our fiscal year ends on June 30th. Mm-hmm. So we would be open to a monthly installment if that made more sense, and we are absolutely open to sharing all of our financials and our salaries, and happy to have that reviewed and provide that as well if that's helpful. Of course, that is public record. So. What I'm saying is that it's the funding, the most important thing for us is to receive the $340,000 before the end of June so that we can align with our fiscal year budget. And that's pretty much how our funding works in terms of how we do our budgets and our books.
So right now, it sounds like you're out of funds.
For the fiscal year, we've identified, well, the money that we've raised is $900,000, so that has paid for, funding so far. So for the rest of the year, we don't have identified funding to make up that gap.
And you're expecting annual renewals to provide funding for the coming year budget?
That, honestly, one of the hardest things that nonprofits face is a lot of foundations and donors, as we know, unfortunately don't make multi-year pledges. Mm-hmm. So at this moment, we have some, commitments for the future, but we don't have, a solid amount of multi-year pledges. That's one of the things we definitely want to work on.
So you say you need these funds before the end of the fiscal year?
Yeah.
So, and that's June 30th for you?
Yes.
Okay. So that would give us 3.5 months from today.
Right.
I mean, I would be comfortable if we had Operation Hope have an opportunity to sit down with our finance staff and just have a review and to understand what the exigencies are of their operating budget. I just think if we're going to make a charitable contribution and an infusion of cash, I think we kind of owe it to the taxpayers of the city of Vista to be able to tell them that we did our due diligence. There is no question that the work that you do is vital, and that if we have the ability to step in and make sure it continues, we absolutely need to do that. But I also want to make sure that we're making an investment that is going to truly be a bridge and not just elongate the cliff. We really want to understand what the fiscal scenario is here, which is kind of like I say. When we talked, I was really hopeful that we would be able to construct a service contract, because when we do engage in a service contract, we don't necessarily ask the service provider to bring their financials and sit down with our financial staff. But in this kind of a scenario where it's just a kind of a charitable contribution, cash infusion on an emergency basis, it's a different scenario. So I don't know if there's some way that we could work something out. I mean, maybe we could advance pay for a service for contract for the coming year, but it's difficult for me to go back to the taxpayers and say, we didn't even look at the books, we didn't even see the financials, we didn't ask what their operating costs were, we didn't ask what the, are you right-sized with your staffing? I don't know. And I think it's too much to get into tonight, but I feel like I have to be able to answer the people of Vista. If I give away this quantity of their money, I have to be able to tell them that we had those conversations, we reviewed the numbers. So I am supportive, but I do think we need to really make sure that with our city's best finance people, we've really taken a look at this and we've helped you build a plan, and we feel confident. So I would like, you said you've got 3.5 months before you're going to hit the fiscal cliff, right? So what I'd like to do, I don't think it would take longer than 30 days, is I'd like to get this, have a plan by April 15th for us to come back, whatever our council meeting is in April 8th. Do you think it's feasible that we could sit down and have a cursory review? I'm not looking for an audit here. I'm just looking for a basic review of revenues, expenditures, understanding if costs are in line, and are there any recommendations we can make to help them operate at peak efficiency, recommendations we can make about how to increase revenue flows and manage cash flows better.
We can do that. The other thing that the council may want to consider is the money that we're going to give them is essentially going to run the facility for the next 3 months. So we could make that our service contract if that's what the council's desire is.
I'm okay with a fee-for-service arrangement, as long as we can define to the taxpayer what services we acquired and at what cost, and we can do that lawfully, then I would be okay with that.
We believe we can, yeah.
Okay. I'm okay with that model. I want a fee-for-service model that we're able to define the benefit that we acquired on behalf of the taxpayer, because that makes it a very different proposition than just making a cash contribution without asking deep questions. If we paid for something and it's at fair market value, then that's defensible to the taxpayer. So, Councilmember O'Donnell.
Excuse me, City Manager, are you confident you can craft something along those lines within the existing motion if?
Yes.
Okay. So, Councilmember Fox, if you're open to a friendly amendment, I'd like to amend your current motion to allow and grant authority to our city manager to sign off on this grant agreement, so that way we can disperse funds faster, and then it would alleviate the need for it to come back before the council to approve it a second time.
Councilman, if you may, we'd like to call it a service agreement.
Service agreement, my apologies.
Yes, absolutely. I think that works.
But yeah, if you are confident that you can accomplish that within the parameters of what we're talking, I can be supportive of that.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. I just put my support behind your comments, Mayor, that we could offer technical assistance from our staff. I do believe I spoke to city manager, and we may be providing some assistance with grant writing as well. Is that the case? Okay, so maybe something, that we could report back to the council if we don't have to come back together and approve it once again. We could get a report back on that financial technical assistance as well as outcomes of any grant funding that the City of Vista was able to provide. Thank you.
And I'll renew my offer to be of service to you to help you raise funds and communicate with the community the proposition that you have. I do have great faith in your organization, and don't misunderstand my questions as anything less. But if I can be of service, please call on me personally. Councilmember Contreras.
Okay, so as the seconder of the original motion, as long as, Mayor, that you will be joining a yes on this, I will go ahead and second the amendment to the motion. That's how I saw it to begin with, because I know that you have these 3 months. Time is ticking, it's almost April. So if that's what it's gonna take to ensure that this moves forward and that we have unanimous support from this council, then I'm okay with that.
Okay, very good. We have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item passes unanimously. Okay.
Thank you. We
Was it your
really
birthday?
appreciate it. No, not today, last week.
Oh, well, happy birthday. All
But
right.
this is a great birthday present. I'll take it. Thank you all so much. We really deeply appreciate your support, your partnership, and we're excited about even deepening our collaborations moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Esperanza. Okay, that'll bring us to item D2, our 4-month review of the agreement with the San Diego Rescue Mission for citywide homeless outreach services. And if there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature, by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Homeless Service Program Manager, Jonathan Lung, will introduce the item.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, City Council members. This item provides a 4-month update on the agreement for citywide homelessness outreach services with San Diego Rescue Mission. City Council adopted the strategic plan to address homelessness in March 2020, which includes homelessness outreach as one of its 7 strategies. Between September 2020 and October 2024, the city contracted with Exodus Recovery to provide homelessness outreach and housing navigation services in support of the outreach strategy. On October 22nd, 2024, City Council approved an agreement with San Diego Rescue Mission to continue citywide outreach services, contingent on a successful 4-month review of the program's accomplishments to continue the agreement through its initial term. This presentation provides that update. The term of the agreement with the rescue mission includes a $500,000 contract ceiling for 12 months, with the option to renew the agreement for up to 36 total months in increments of the city's choice. The approved program budget includes $50,000 in client assistance funds, $97,000 in operating costs, and $300,000 in program staff, which includes a manager, coordinator, outreach lead, and outreach worker. Based on the rescue mission's performance and accomplishments during this initial term of the agreement, staff recommend continuing the agreement for citywide outreach services. San Diego Rescue Mission Chief of Staff and Senior Vice President of Programs, Paul Armstrong, will provide details of the program metrics for the council's consideration.
Mayor, City Council members, thank you so much. We definitely have appreciated the opportunity to work. I'm just going to commend your staff. They're amazing. It's truly been a great working relationship from our perspective. And we've just, it's felt like it's really been an opportunity for us to have an impact. But it's not just words. You guys want to see numbers. So let's go to them. So in the period of time, by the time we were fully trained and staffed, so our starting date was 11/25, we have served 184 unduplicated neighbors. So that's the number of folks that we've served. Want to give you a couple of things where we met them. Obviously, most of them were in a place not meant for habitation. And then we did some where we engaged them in shelter as they were exiting from shelter, and one as they were leaving from the house, from housing. This is one of the things we do want to stress as you do consider, and as we continue our partnership, we understand you meet people where they're at in outreach. That's what outreach does. And what you see is where we engaged them is we met them where they were at. What happened in those situations? Well, happy to report 13 of them have ended their homelessness since we began, and we were able to get another 153 into shelter. One thing that is interesting to note is of the remaining, 111 you see were open to shelter. So we are building rapport, and I think that's important. We did have 7 that refused, and we'll talk a little bit about continuous engagement on that front, but just want you to be able to see, okay, we are part of our relational model. That's what we told you we'd do, and that's what we are doing, is we're out there and we're building connection, building relationship, so that as opportunities open, we have a trusting relationship with that person to help move them forward. Want to be able to provide you your demographic information. So again, you see portion, we have 39 of the 184 experienced a disability. You can see the race, age, and gender. And of course, we track specifically both veteran and LGBTQ plus individuals that we're being able to serve. How do we engage with them? Our initial contact, show you the heat map. I also want to be able to talk through that our initial contact, 153 of them we met, we engaged first, but we have been able to build a good relationship to be able to have both your city engage with us and other referrals, so I provide that for you there, whether it's Sheriff's Department, Code Enforcement, Housing and Homelessness Services, and the Community Improvement Team all have been able to build a rapport with them. They know how to contact us, and then we turn around and engage the person that they've asked us to engage. With that, the service interactions, again, we do a relational street-based case management service. So of those 184, 708 shows you the different types of services, just multiple engagements, trying to connect with them over time. One of the things that we were able to put together, and we're going to show quickly, and I'll set the stage, is we do have a quick video testimonial from someone we moved into housing. Again, this is it's an understanding that as you engage with someone, you're meeting them where they're at, and then you're figuring out what that next step forward is. For some individuals, going into the shelter system is not going to be possible. They have a lot of dynamics that may make it difficult. And you'll see in Christine's story, for her, she had some disabilities. You're going to be able to see both where she's living now and where she was living when we first met her. And so I'm going to do a terrible job. I'm going to let her speak for herself.
I would say my parents were not the best role models. My mom smoked. She was an alcoholic, and we had alcoholism that runs through our family and drug addiction. I mean, so I was predisposed to begin with. And then my mom started smoking weed with me when I was 15. So pretty much my mom opened the door for addiction, and just me was acceptable. 2 Novembers ago, I was attacked by a pit bull in a parking lot, and I'm permanently disabled. I have nerve damage. They messed up my wrist, and my fingers stuck like this. So, and my foot, I was lucky to walk again. My foot was all mangled, and my hands, and I was really, that's the most vulnerable I've been in a long, long time. And I was just putting my faith, I mean, I could have been killed, honestly. It was bad. It was really bad. I was sitting there, like, people would walk by and they wouldn't even notice I was there. I was like, right, I was there where I was hidden, but there. And I just felt like I was in like a hole that I dug myself. And then I needed somebody, I was in half a hole, and somebody was, and they had to pull me out. So, I mean, I just feel like you guys are just so beautiful, so blessed. I mean, I just can't thank you enough. I just get goosebumps thinking about it. It's just so amazing. So please continue to give. San Diego Rescue Mission has a mission, and it's helping people change their lives.
Christina is exactly the type of person who really needs permanent supportive housing. That's what she moved into. It's a permanent supportive housing in Carlsbad is the location of it. And so what we had is we had someone who had significant disabilities, who obviously had some life circumstances, and our team thankfully was able to navigate through the coordinated entry system and get her housed. And so now she's housed, safe, and we're excited to have been a part of her journey. So guys, continuing to move forward, your team, hopefully you've all gotten a chance to know Marcia. I know everyone loves Carla. They love Carla more than me. I'm a little hurt by that, but I understand why, because they're awesome, and Marcia is also awesome. She's here tonight, and hopefully I do think you guys have had a chance to go out and engage with our team and see them in action, and we would continue to ask you guys, invite you guys to join. We have 2 other individuals. The contract, we did have a 4th person. Now we're needing to fill that position. But just to talk through the hours, again, we have picked 6 days a week that we want to be out on the streets. So we have a Monday through Saturday presence, and of course, Marcia is available after hours as needed. One of the issues that had come up when we first talked with you was training. So I want to just show you the training that has been accomplished. Of course, we have our standard onboarding training. We have internal training that we're able to do with our staff. And then, of course, we talked through external training. We're okay with engaging with external training providers so that we get the best training and our team is well-rounded. And we provided you both the training that we received and who provided that training. Why you hired us. I want to talk about this slide right here and really dig in a little bit. You guys would like a by name list. We love by name lists because everybody does have a name, and that's how we're going to engage them. What we really want to start providing for you guys on a monthly basis is what's happening with that by name list. We should have, well, we start at the beginning of the month, who's new, who's left, and where are you at the end of the month. And so as of March 1st, our starting number is 218. That's the by name list that we're currently working, and that's the number we're gonna, and we wanna, that chart you see up above it, we wanna start producing that chart for you so that you'll have a regular snapshot of what's happening. More importantly then too, what's happening with the chronic and most highest utilizers of service. So two things. These 2 charts is what we want to give you every month, and that's first, to show that you have a functioning by name list, and 2, to really go, hey, are we doing prioritized case conferencing around those individuals we really need to be focused on? And so that starting number right now is 22. And we want to be having conversations with the entire city staff that's working on homelessness about these 22. What other resources do we need? What we find when you talk about engagements and touch points, right? Someone who's new to experiencing homelessness are oftentimes quick to receive services. They're willing. Hey, would you like a shelter? Absolutely. The longer you've been experiencing homelessness, the harder it becomes. There's trust issues, and it's not just on us. They've lost trust. There are more complex issues, and it takes more and more time to engage with that individual. And so having a list that we're really going, okay, hey, who's our 22 hardest, or who is just our hardest? And are we doing the hard work to address those? Because what we know is every single one of those 22 we get off the street frees up resources and makes it much easier because the people who have just entered homelessness were able to move quickly. And so I just like to highlight that to go, hey, we're all in. And I believe, and I would say your staff's all in, and so we're excited to be able to continue to do this work because I think that's going to be able to give you guys confidence. Are we actually making progress, and will you be able to show that? Wrap up by just saying, hey, these were the goals in our initial presentation. We still would love to work ourselves out of a job. We are hoping that we're passing the eyeball test. In other words, we hope that you guys are experiencing a difference. We do hope that the community is thankful and you know, no pressure, but I'd love it if one of you wants to say, man, I think this was the best decision we ever made. I'm not going to stop you, but really with all seriousness, we want to change the state of homelessness in Vista. Great start and look forward to being able to continue to work with you. Thank you.
This concludes staff's presentation. We're available for any questions.
Well, I think it might be one of the best decisions we ever made. Honestly, the numbers are so good that I have a lot more questions, which is a good thing. Your numbers are dramatically different than numbers that we saw from our last outreach provider. The thing that catches my attention more than anything, and by the way, I have to say, and I have had the opportunity to go and walk through encampments and do outreach with Carla and Marcia and Kenneth and Alex, and wow, what a great team of people. Just the energy that you bring, the love that you bring to people is really amazing. The accessibility. Thank you for sharing your personal cell phone numbers so that when we find people that need help, we can refer them directly to you. It's really, really impressive. Very, very pleased to have the rescue mission here as a partner. The thing that caught my attention more than anything were the 111 people that were accepting of shelter, but we didn't have a place for them to go. And the thing I'd most like to hear about, honestly, I'd like to have a paragraph on every one of the 111 and what that meant, that they were ready to go, and where we looked. And then the next thing that we have to ask, and I've been talking to our Buena Creek Navigation Center, our shelter, which is not a shelter because it's designed to navigate a way to permanent housing, not to be a place to live. One of the things that I'm really wanting to better understand, and I kind of wish they were here tonight, and I look forward to having everybody together at our next workshop meeting, and I'm gonna follow up with staff on this tomorrow. I want to know how we're doing with our average duration of stay. It's really, really important that we are super focused on people who want to work their way out of homelessness. And, as long as they're doing what's being asked of them by their case manager, I support, and I will, would never micromanage our case managers. If they have belief that people are really working it and they're really trying, then I want to give them every opportunity to get into permanent housing. But I do want to know that our throughput, because we do only have the 36 beds for our people in Vista, I want to know that we're maximizing our throughput and the total number of successful outcomes, which really is an exit to permanent housing. That's something I really want to understand. I don't know if you have any more information you could share with us tonight about what I would actually really like to hear. What happened in a number of those cases where you had somebody that wanted to get shelter, and I assume probably you reached out to Daniel, and Daniel said there's no room at the inn. What do we know? Because this is just dramatically different numbers, and it might be because we got the right people doing it, but I really need to dig into that.
Yeah, I would offer, so you see the places we place people. So when we're looking for shelter, we're looking. Like, it's not just, yes, we promise we call Daniel first.
Right.
But we're checking. Our team is coordinated with the shelter system that's available in North County, and I'll just highlight, you'll see one went to our South County Lighthouse. For whatever reason, that was the right fit for that particular individual. And so we leveraged the resources that we have. And so our team is aggressive in trying to find a placement, especially if someone's willing. What we can say and what we do know of the overall shelter system is at max capacity. Sadly, Operation Hope told you how many people they turn away. And so just looking at those numbers, that's the dynamic is, now why are they willing? And I will brag on our team. That's in a relational approach. When our team engages a person experiencing homelessness, we know how to put them at ease. We know that they get the sense that we care. And when you know someone cares, you're willing to go, okay, what are my options? And that's what happens is our team is like, hey, can we get you off the street? Yes. Is there anything available? And then we're hustling and we're working. Part of the reason to have the by name list is also then to allow that ongoing relationship. Part of the reason we're out there 6 days a week is for ongoing continuous contact. So that when a shelter bed does become available, man, we're able to move that person and get them on a path to end their homelessness.
What's the status of the district attorney's app that she's built? Is that up and working? Do we have access to that? I've forgotten the name of it.
Yeah, it's a really complex name. It's called the Shelter app.
Shelter app. Okay, that's why I can't remember. It's too easy.
Yeah. But okay, it's still our North County Lighthouse is utilizing it. I believe we're hoping to have more service providers or other shelter providers leverage it. It's okay. I think one of the things that I'll And Carla and Marcia, I promised I'll throw something on the back of my head if I say something incorrect. An outreach worker hustles. And so the key for the shelter app to be effective is it has to be meaningful. They move too fast to be waiting on something. So our hope is that the ease of the shelter app, it's an easy to use app. It seems to scratch an itch. We don't have a lot of shelters on it yet, so that kind of makes it, okay, as more shelters get on it, and if we're able to actually see it result in shelter placement, man, the ease of the use of the app, the ability to actually know when I see a bed available that I'm getting someone into that bed, that's great. So that's what I'm excited about that app. We have not seen widespread adoption yet.
That's a shame. I mean, one of the things when I met with Esperanza, she told me is that there were more than she wanted. I don't remember the number. There were more than she wanted nights when beds were not utilized. And we know the need is great. And so we know that we're not at peak efficiency for matching available beds for people that want them. And so I'm really curious to know, and I don't know if you know the answer to this, whose job is it? And should it be our job? Should we self-appoint ourselves to talk to the shelters in our region? I'm particularly curious amongst those who participate in the Alliance, how many of them are using the Shelter app?
So Mr. Sturman has more information about the Shelter Ready app and how we're utilizing it in North County.
So it's Shelter Ready, right?
Shelter Ready app,
Shelter
yeah.
Ready.
So Shelter
Yeah.
Ready, I think it referred more commonly as Shelter app. At any rate, I would just quickly highlight that even without the Shelter Ready app being utilized throughout the county already, the reason you're seeing such a dramatic increase in the acceptance of shelters is with the San Diego Rescue Mission's presence in the county. They are able to access shelters that most other outreach providers cannot and have not. So having them as a partner has opened up a lot more shelter venues for our clients experiencing homelessness in Vista, which is just a testament to the presence of the county. And I think if you'd like, Mr. Sturman can give some more context on the Shelter Ready.
I just want to acknowledge that I see from the report the number of individuals you were able to shelter in other facilities, presumably at no extra cost to the city of Vista, which is amazing. That is something that's new. So, Mr. Sturman, what do you see here?
Daniel Sturman, management analyst. So far, Oceanside Lighthouse or North County Lighthouse is the only shelter using the Shelter Ready app. All of the shelters in North County have committed to using it at some point. We are in discussion with the app providers. We're planning to beginning to utilize it in May. We have another software change happening at the BCNC, and we don't want to change up too much of the software that we use to run the program. So we're going to test out the new software at the BCNC, and then following month we should be rolling out with utilization of that app.
But just to be clear, generally you're calling through a dozen different shelters. That is just, I mean, in the grand, that's not your fault. That's the system that you're left to deal with, but that's not okay. That is, and again, that's not our outreach workers don't have control over that. But the fact that for every client that says yes, that you have to make a dozen phone calls, that is inefficient for you, and it's very trying for your clients because they feel rejected 12 times. You know, what can we do to pressure those who participate in the Alliance? Can we give them 12 months and say, you need to comply or we're going to reevaluate our service agreement with you? Because why should we be making our outreach team make 12 different calls every one of 111 times? I mean, what is 12 times 111? It's a lot. That's a lot of phone calls that didn't need to happen and a lot of time that they could have been serving somebody's needs that they didn't get to because they had to do that when we could have automated this. I mean, we got to get this. This is too many years of vision, and it's not coming fast enough.
Yeah, as Mr. Sturman mentioned, every shelter in North County has committed to using it at some point. It's not a perfect system that fits every shelter. Some different shelters have different criteria, different ways they track beds. So they are working actively with Caravan Studios to accommodate their specific needs. One thing we could do to compel the Alliance Network to try to expedite that process, perhaps make it contingent on continued funding through the city of Vista for the Alliance contract. But certainly, the lack of the utilization of Shelter Ready isn't for lack of want from the shelters, just rather working out different technical issues, which they are actively working on.
Could you solicit a response from each of them to ask them when they plan? And if they don't currently, if they're not able to give us a date about when they plan to adopt it and implement it, could they please give us 2 or 3 sentences on why? And my understanding of this app, and I'd like to have a walkthrough of it if I could, but my understanding is the app was supposed to take into account all of the different facets. I mean, do they take pets? Do they take a companion? Do they take multiple gender? Do they have special services for mental health? It's supposed to be like a matchmaker that keeps track of all of that. And the whole idea is that it's customizable. If we add a new feature, we're supposed to be able to add that, and then we can go in and say, okay, I need a shelter that takes a dog that has, room for 2 in the same room because they're a pair, whatever it is, high barrier, low barrier, choose all the options and then show me what's available, right? Wouldn't that be magic if you could do that rather than make 12 phone calls? Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, I think
we got to make that happen. We got to be the ones to make it happen. If we don't do it and we have the ability to pressure, I think you should just tell them that we're considering. And where I would start with it is I would start with saying, we're going to pay 10% less if you're not using it. Not a draconian offer not to continue our contract, but maybe it's going to impact our funding. And again, if there's a reason that they don't want to adopt it, I really like to know what that is. I see the rest of the council wants to ask some questions here, so I won't continue with this line, but I've got a lot more questions, and I look forward to following up offline. But I just want to say I'm just blown away by the success of the numbers that you're having in terms of getting a yes from people. And that's the problem I've wanted to have all along, because I get asked this question all the time. Do you have enough shelter? And I say, I wish the problem was that I didn't have enough for the people saying yes today. And you've created that problem through your good work. So now we have a problem to solve, and we need to keep dialing in each link in the chain to solve this problem. So thanks for giving us a good problem to solve. Councilmember Contreras.
Thank you so much. I was the only one who didn't vote for you. And I had some serious concerns, but I have been remarkably relieved of those concerns. And, I don't think most people know this, but Friday is my favorite day, not because it's the end of the work week, but because that's when I get my report from city manager. And the first thing that I see on there is San Diego Rescue Mission and the outcomes for the week. And as I've been looking at that data, digesting it, first of all, I want to say that it is clear to me that you are building rapport, because it's not a simple pie chart that is just saying, yeah, we did some outreach and all these people refused. And so I think you are demonstrating, and I know that this is not, it doesn't go out to the public, but you're demonstrating for me that something that I really have argued for and have known all along, which is that most people don't want to be that out there. But building that trust back is critical. And I was very skeptical. I mean, I gave you some hard questions and I said, no, I'm not going to vote for you. And I'm in a position now where I really see that you have been doing the work, that this organization has been, like you said, meeting folks where they're at. And that's exactly what we need. I am really excited by some of the new data that we might be receiving. I think, for us, the more information and the more it can be put in picture form, right, for elected officials, the better. But there's so much that goes, these are individual stories, and I'm sure that you see the transformation on the street as you are having continued conversations with folks. So, I'm seeing the dots being connected, and the fact that the refusals are extraordinarily low. So I really want to thank you for that. I want to thank everybody that's part of San Diego Rescue Mission organization for doing that and for proving me wrong. I'm someone that I'm totally okay, like, to be wrong about something. I'm not, immovable and inflexible. But you rose to the occasion, and so many people are connecting to the services that they deserve to be connected to.
Thank you very much.
And I'm really thankful too, Mayor, of your recommendations about the structural inefficiency for being able to identify where there's a bed available. And I think you're 100% right about that. So the more that we can do to push for some kind of way to address that structural inefficiency, the better. If it's going to, take some language that the council drafts and sends out, I'm okay with that. But I also want, like you said, right, to hear from them. What are some of the reasons that you can't adopt this, right? Because I think that way we can have a fair conversation and ensure that everybody's uniqueness of their shelter model, or whatever the case might be, is taken into consideration so we can have this regional tool. The heat map, I'm constantly looking at that. I'm also someone who, not right now because I literally sprained my ankle yesterday. So if you saw me, hobbling around a little bit, it's because my ankle is a little messed up, but it's not broken, so that's good. But when I am able-bodied, I love to walk, and most of the time because I'm just kind of busy during the day. Sometimes I get a little bit of a walk in, but most of my walks are after 10 p.m. with like the majority of them being really late, like somewhere around 11 to midnight, where I'm just walking my dog, around my neighborhood. And that's when I see folks that I don't usually see during the day. And so having after hours for me is a critical component. I don't want to have need to utilize a special privilege as an elected official to be able to contact someone directly. What I want to be able to do is to build the type of resource so that, Stater Brothers and the manager there, or any small business and their manager, can have some kind of a hotline that they can contact and say, hey, we have an individual here, right? Because that's something that I hear a lot from our small businesses, right? So I don't know if that's something that's already in place. I'm ignorant of it if it is, but if it's not in place, that's something I would love for us to build together, and that we would provide that information to the businesses as well, because I know that there's a lot of folks out there that need someone to approach them, that are living in their cars. At some point, their car does not allow for them to live in it because maybe they have put a lot of things in it. So then I'm seeing them sleep somewhere close to their car, but not next to it, right? I'm not a trained social worker, so it can be difficult for someone like me that's walking at that time, and my dog is a tiny little dog, so doesn't offer much protection. Not to say that I would need it, but I'm not able to do the outreach, as much as I wish I could. It's just not. I don't have that skill. So I want to be able to have some kind of gap there filled, and I think we need to involve our business community as well. Outside of that, I really am so pleased that what we are receiving as a service from you and your organization is so much more than I think we were receiving before. So I think there is this discussion necessitates a motion, because I saw are we needing to say that we want to continue with San Diego Rescue Mission, or is it just informational?
It's just an informational item to give you an update.
Okay.
There's no motion necessary.
The motion approving the contract required a review at the 4-month period.
Okay, so we're just receiving the information. I don't need to say, hey, we're going to continue.
Unless there's any changes you want to see, which we've noted your desire to.
That is a change, but I'm not
hours,
going
we'll come
to
back to
rock
that.
the boat too much because I was a naysayer and now I'm a believer. So, yeah. So anyways, those are my comments, and I really look forward to continuing to work with your organization and yeah, just really be able to have some kind of way for the public to reach after hours, because after like 3 p.m. is just way too early for me. So I don't know if that's going to necessitate like additional staff to do that later in the after hours. I don't know if the staff that you have right now is enough for that. So those are things that I think we can continue to discuss and find what works. So thank you. That's all for me.
Welcome back, Paul.
Yeah, thank you.
I was the one that requested 4 months because I know that there was a lot of circumstances surrounding the approval of this contract, and I just want to echo some of the comments that were made that I've been completely blown away. I also have an understanding that you helped out some of the individuals that were vacated from Green Oak Ranch. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I want to thank you for doing that. I know that was not needed on your end, but I appreciate you working with our staff, Daniel and Jonathan, who are doing a phenomenal job, and thank you for all your work. Really appreciate the work that you did there as well. I have a question because 111 stuck out to me as well, but for a different reason. When I hear that Operation Hope has 167 families and 144 single individuals that are women turned away, you had 111 that wanted shelter and couldn't get it. That is in direct contrast to everything I've ever heard about people when they have touch points. I've been told time and time again that like 93 or 94% of individuals turn down services every single time they're asked. And so it really makes me wonder what our previous provider was doing. But two, it sounds to me more like they're not turning down service, service is turning them down. And so I just want to know, are you all doing something so out of this world different, or are you just doing your jobs accurately, which is all we've ever asked for?
Right, that's, I think in our initial presentation, we don't do anything dramatic. We follow the community standards that were outlined by the Regional Task Force on Homelessness for street outreach. And what we know is it's a relationship. And our team approaches people in a manner that they know that they're seen, valued, and cared for. And, right, and so just as in you go any place, when someone approaches you with dignity and respect, you're more likely to engage with them.
Funny how
That's
that
what
works,
we do.
right? Works like that in the community too.
Amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. I would like to know average length of stay as well, and if you don't have that right now, I don't need it. But do you have that information, or no?
As far as the length of
For
case
individ-
management, street case management for
individuals
transition
that accept the shelter, and then how long they have stayed there. I mean, do we have that information
from each of the shelters?
No, you're talking about
we have, but it's
the-
specifically with Rescue Mission. Yeah, like placements, and then also.
That is why we really want, that's why we're really intentional about building the by name list, because that's going to allow us to have the ongoing data, and you will be able to see. So what you ought to see is on the by name list, we're going to be able to go, hey, this is our level of engagement with each individual on the by name list. But then really, that's why I'm going to point to then those 22 high utilizers of service. That's going to take a lot more touch points. There's more complexity there. And that's where we're going to be really trying to work with city staff to do intentional case conferencing. So we need a higher level of case conferencing around those 22. But then those 218 being able to go, hey, this is their story. This is what's happening. And that's why we built the by name list. So part of this season when we first was so that we could have the by name list, so that then we can be able to talk about any one of those 218. We're, of course, going to want to focus on the 22 while we continue to engage the 218.
And I know the majority of this council asked for that, but that was specifically the amount of touch points prior to acceptance or getting into shelter is something I'd asked for. So I really appreciate you doing that, because I think it is vital, because you need to know how many people have been contacted, when they've been contacted, what their reasoning for saying no is, and how many touch points it actually took to get them over that hump, because it is a trust issue. I'm not going to share the story for the thousandth time, but I know my aunt experienced the same thing, and it took her 10 years to get off the street. So it's it is valuable work that you're doing, but we asked you for the when, the where, how often, how many touch points, exit reasons, hotspots, clusters, a by name list, and you have delivered on every single metric that we have asked you to bring forward. And I could not be happier with the work that you're doing. Like I said before, but I've said to you privately, I've heard nothing but good things, even from our deputies. And they talk about the availability of shelter through you all in the Navigation Center, which makes a huge difference when you're trying to get people off the street. So I just want to say thank you for that. The other question I did have, so these heat maps, these are all individual interactions, is that correct?
That is correct.
So there's no one duplicated on this list?
No, right. The heat map are duplicated numbers.
I know the answer. I'm just asking.
Okay,
so I
yeah.
can-
Yeah,
But
just-
is it possible, and I don't need addresses or names or anything like that, but does our staff have the ability to view this map?
Yes.
Can we set some time up? Because what I'd like to do is drill down into a granular, like just a lower level, so I can see exactly where these are, especially where I see overlays. Because I know that we've done it. I honestly, I thought the 78 in Sycamore was going to look more like Melrose and Sycamore, to be honest with you. And the fact that it is as low as it is surprised me a little bit. But if we could drill down into that data, and it doesn't need to be a long meeting, but I just want to kind of see what it is, where they're at, in relevance to that. I'd really appreciate that.
Absolutely.
I mean, everybody else already asked the questions I wanted to ask, so I'm just going to say, again, thank you for the great work. Staff, thank you for the great work. Please keep it up. I'm very proud of the work that you're doing, and you should all be very proud of the work that you're doing, far more than I am, because you're really doing the hard work. But keep it up, and I'll look forward to getting another update here in the near future.
Awesome. Thank you very much. I'll keep it short because I wasn't here 4 months ago when this contract was, it seems like, so wisely formed. But I would like to take some time just to give a shout out to your amazing team, because I was actually able to go on a BPO walk with them back in January, and I got to see the actual approach they take when they're doing their job. And Councilmember O'Donnell asked, if you guys are doing something special, and I think the answer should be yes to that. I think what you have is an amazing team that actually cares about people and is out there talking to them as individuals and addressing their specific problems. I'll quickly tell a little story. This was one of the many people we talked to that day, but I heard from some people that were not on your team that one of the people that they had spoken to was most likely probably one of those 22 people, that they had been approached multiple times, had turned down many, many times, and it probably wasn't worth talking to them. And your team did not agree with that and went and talked to them anyway. And actually was able to help them get an ID and do a couple things like that. They didn't accept, it's like they're nodding, yeah. And that was something that really blew me away. I mean, even just compared to some of the county people that were with us and some of that, the personal excitedness to be there and to help these people was really impressive. Another little funny story was we were thinking we were going to go to that property on South Santa Fe. I'm sure you know exactly which one, and how bummed out they were when we were told we couldn't go over there, that we didn't have the enough sheriffs with us to be able to go over there, and they really wanted to. They're bummed out that they couldn't do it, and it's like going into those places where I'm sure that's makes some people very uncomfortable, and not for them. They wanted to be there. They wanted to do their best there, and so I think the special sauce is your team, and so I just wanted to take the little time I have to shout them out. So that's all from me.
They are amazing.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you so much to the whole team at San Diego Rescue Mission. And Donnie D, I see you're here too. Thank you for your leadership. I really appreciate all my council members' comments. And I'm glad that we had this 4-month review, because our last relationship with our last service provider was very dissatisfying for me. I understand the level of commitment that it takes to serve every single person and to not give up. And to hear, the testimony from Councilmember of, what it's like to go out with the team and see that the persistence is there. I'll tell you that when I've gone out with previous teams, I saw a lot of excuses as to why we couldn't approach someone, but to really value that human life and to serve in such a humanitarian capacity, it takes a high level of a commitment that you've demonstrated in the data. I'm really excited about the flows in and the flows out. That's going to be fantastic to see as you continue to build that. And I just wanted to, as well as join my colleagues in saying thank you and congratulations on, a really wonderful initiative, right, starting in our city. I really appreciate the idea of getting, a hotline going for local businesses, and something simple that could be installed perhaps is a phone line that, after 3 p.m., can just receive messages, right? Has a prompt for business owners or, local residents to say, hey, here's, an opportunity to, if you see something that's concerning, please, you can report it to us and we'll follow up about it. Because your team starts really early. You're starting, before a lot of people have gotten up for the day. And if there is maybe a tip line that you can get a little bit of information, somebody calls at 6 p.m., 7, 8 p.m. and says, hey, someone's setting up a camp by my business and they probably could use shelter. Maybe San Diego Rescue Mission and the City of Vista can help them. And then if your team can get that message and that can kind of prompt the outreach a little bit so we can continue to target and hone in. But otherwise, the heat maps are awesome. I agree. I'd love to hone in a little bit more. And I think our council can really use that data. The city can use that information to look at how we're going to employ different strategies, right? How we're going to use community development and infrastructure to improve the movement of people so that it's positive things that are happening in our public spaces, right? And that people are getting connected to the right services and they're utilizing our public spaces properly. So I think that there's definitely some opportunities for us to grow the partnership where we're using the information to, I love the decommissioning. I love that. I think that is so fantastic. We all want to solve the problem. We want to never have to see someone in our community experience homelessness if we can prevent it and if we can address it right away, even better, and you guys are doing just that. So thank you so much, fantastic work, and I look forward to coming out with you guys sometime.
So we do have a housing and homelessness hotline in the city of Vista. The phone number is 760-639-6191. Who took over for Sergio answering that line?
If I may, we do have a designated housing homelessness hotline for community members. It's 760-639-6124. The mayor that was meant, the phone number is 6191, that does dial to the Housing and Homeless Services staff. But 760-639-6124 will put all community members in direct contact with San Diego Rescue Mission. It's 760-639-6124.
And are you able to leave messages on that line?
Absolutely, yep. So any caller can leave a message during working hours. They should receive someone answering the phone. They can leave a message and they will be returned the following day. Regarding overnight or after hours outreach, we've kind of discussed that possibility a little bit. One of the issues with having outreach staff after hours that other homeless services work traditional working hours, so there wouldn't be any intake available or anything like that. So generally, there's not a whole lot of resources that an outreach provider can provide after hours, but as Paul mentioned, Marcia is available after hours if there is an urgent need. So we do have that ability as needed.
And John let me know that Esmeralda is the new Sergio.
That's correct. Yeah,
Good.
that's right.
I haven't had a chance to meet her yet. Well, actually, no, I have met her.
You may have, correct.
She moved up from community development. So that's good. We still have vista.gov/homelessness, correct?
For outreach specifically, a better email would be vistahot@sdrescue.org. That'll again get them in direct contact with the San Diego Rescue Mission outreach team.
What I'm asking about is a web address where people can go to access phone numbers, email addresses, and a description of services. I'm going to type it in. I asked the IT department, and let's see if it still works. It does. So it's vista.gov/homelessness. So if you can't remember all these phone numbers and email addresses, then. It's
all right there, yep.
And you still have 6191 here as the
That's
the
to reach
hotline.
our staff, correct?
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
All right,
there
we'll
should
put
be
the hotline up on here.
Yep.
That way people can see what that is. But this is a really valuable resource I want to commend to people. And then, Donnie D., what do we got to do for these 111 people? I'm trying to get this council to rethink the staff plan, because I'm not all on board with the staff plan yet for our new NAV Center. We got $5.5 million for this. What do we got to do to include some transitional housing opportunity like you have at the Mission Academy? What do you have at the Mission Academy? How many beds?
300.
You got 300. How do we build 100 beds for transitional housing here?
And I will just echo the thing we've enjoyed about working with the city staff is the clear that you guys have a plan, that it's not just a plan on paper. One of the jokes I've heard in this work is San Diego is the place where plans come to die. But you guys actually have a plan that you're trying to execute, which makes it a great partnership. Because as you can see, we want to work. And when you have a plan and we want to work, we can do a lot of stuff together.
I mean, the thought that I'm having right now is that we need to re-examine all of our plans. I really need to know, totally honest, how many of those people would have gone to NAV Center, or how many people could we get out of the NAV Center into a Mission Academy? How many beds could we open up? We want to get people off the street. If they're willing, if they're saying yes to get off the street, then we need to re-examine every dollar of spending and figure out where we immediately remove the burden or the hurdles and make sure that we're getting people. I don't know that it's necessarily the emergency shelter component of it. I think maybe it's the transitional housing part of it. But you've counted 218 people on the by name list so far, right?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
And you're saying you've served 184 unduplicated. It'll be interesting when we get that number, kind of figure out how many we think are out there right now. The last point in time count. When are we going to get the January numbers? I guess we'll get them when they're a year old. That regional point in time count, man, but they said we had 170 unsheltered, and your number is coming pretty close to that. So that's starting to make sense. And from my experience with the 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., they're out, they're asking people, they're filling up the beds that are available for the day. If people haven't said yes or the beds weren't available by then, I had a hard time understanding this as a layperson, because I would have people call me after hours and go, I've got somebody, they want to go. The reality is we had asked them earlier in the day and they said no. And maybe it was, and we have some great loving people who have self-appointed themselves angels in the community, and they would go and build a relationship, and then they would get somebody to a yes. And this is one of these bizarre things where some of the shelters make you call every day, 5 days in a row, sometimes 2 weeks in a row, to prove that you actually really want to go to the shelter. So I don't know how we measure that, but we must develop a metric to figure out what is the intensity. How can we measure that? Such that if we built more facility, if we said, okay, this is the best problem we could have, is that we need to now shift the money we're spending. I mean, I wish I had the whole list in front of me of the $7.5 million we just are working to program right now. John's saying I do have it in front of me. I don't think we have time for it tonight, and it's not on the agenda, but I think we got to talk about immediately how much of this is going to move people through the BCNC, through the NAV Center, and get them into transitional housing so that we open up beds for more people, so that when you're out there and you've got somebody that's a yes, we want to be able to get them off the street immediately, get them in. So it's great. I mean, the numbers are almost too good to be believable, but the other thing that we saw with Exodus, not to name names, well, they hadn't done outreach before. This was, they were attempting, but they never had the same people twice. It was constant turnover. You have got a great team of people that are here consistently. You know, Kenneth drove by me the other day and he saw me in my car, he honked the horn. You know, I love the cheer and the spirit that you have. It's amazing. Thank you. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I think I would love to hear a little bit more about the issues, right, with after 3 p.m. because of the shelter network. And, you know, as we are in other discussions going to be discussing potential shelters here in Vista, you know, I think we really need to integrate that aspect in there. The other thing, I'm still stuck on the businesses too. So looking at this heat map, I don't know what it would cost, or even how we would do it. I'm thinking like email or business cards, but I think that we should have a succinct piece of information for the businesses so that they understand the hotline, they understand the website, they understand the email, and that we would look at the heat map and distribute that to the businesses that are most impacted, so that to ensure that the managers, the owners know, because the more folks that have eyes on our population experiencing homelessness, that are trying to help those individuals connect to your service, that's only going to benefit the community. So I don't know how we approach that, but I would love to see us integrate this heat map with specific business outreach or schools, right? Any kind of like center that has a lot of people, whether it's a business or a nonprofit or school, right? Within the heat map, like intensity areas. So I don't know if I explained that properly, but I really would love to ensure that our businesses know who to contact, because I get that question a lot. So I think if we can be a little bit more proactive on that. Yeah, so thank you.
I heard the city manager say we're going to get some business cards printed up.
Go ahead, John.
Yeah, so we have developed a postcard that we do distribute to our unsheltered residents. It's basically a direct reveal of the different homeless resources we have available through the strategic plan. That one is specifically directed for the unsheltered resident, directing them to where they can retrieve property from camera removals, those kinds of things. We also did previously have a business resource guide. Some of you may remember that we did administer 2 or 3 years ago. It has been updated in some time. We can start the initiative to update that. Another idea we could potentially discuss with IT, we could perhaps integrate this heat map with our GIS system, and just like how planning does with different public notices for future developments, perhaps we can generate a notice depending on changes in the heat map in our GIS system, which could develop a mail merge for all the different businesses affected. But anyhow,
That'd be
yeah.
fantastic, and I think that goes to Councilmember O'Donnell talking about, you know, wanting more information on the map. I think a GIS layer, I don't know if it needs to be public or if it's just private, but you know, that also helps the council members be able to really zoom in. But I love that we're looking at reaching out to our businesses, and we've done that in the past. I think we could do a better job moving forward, especially with the data that you're collecting, and this heat map is really just a great way to visualize where we need some targeted help.
You've watched our enforcement posture change a little bit from day one, 4 months ago. Have you got any observations about how the interaction with our deputies and pressure that they've applied to enforce our law that we recodified to prohibit camping. Do you think are you hearing from clients that that's changing their thinking at all?
Yes.
In a positive way?
In a positive way. So they're pushing and we're saying we're going like this, right? We're here for you. And so the team is really out there every day, making sure that the warnings are going, hey, we don't want to see you get arrested. We don't want to see you get your stuff taken. Please allow us to help you. And so it's really the good cop, bad cop thing kind of going on. And I appreciate it, to be honest with you, because I just need something to help move them. Like, we got to do something. You don't deserve to be out here like this. So, yes.
Amen. Thank you.
And I think the key to that is we want to be the good cop. And so let our team continue to do that, and that would be great. Because as you can see, that's part of that compassionate engagement where we're able to be, we want to connect with them. We don't want them there. And we know we have the ability to help them transition.
Thanks, rescue team. You guys are doing an awesome job.
Thank you.
Okay, that's going to take us to our next item. Thank you. Our last discussion item is to discuss the Standing Committee on Homelessness organizational recommendation. If there are any members of the public that wish to speak on this item, they may indicate so by using the raise their hand feature, by pressing *9 or submitting a request to speak card. Speakers will be called upon after the presentation. Our Homeless Services Program Manager, Jonathan Lung, will provide the staff report.
Thank you. Good evening again, Mayor, City Council members. This item presents different organizational options as presented to the Standing Committee on Homelessness at the February Standing Committee meeting and provides the Standing Committee's recommendation for the City Council's consideration tonight. The Standing Committee on Homelessness was created on January 23, 2024, when the City Council established a Brown Act Standing Committee made up of Mayor John Franklin and Deputy Mayor Katie Melendez, with the remaining council members as ex officio members. The Standing Committee on Homelessness is currently scheduled to meet at 8:30 a.m. on the third Thursday of each month and met in February, March, April, May, June, and August of 2024. The first meeting in February was held in the Morris B. Vance Community Room, and all subsequent meetings were held in the City Council chambers. The meetings in July and September through December 2024 and January 2025 were canceled. On January 14, 2025, the City Council directed staff to provide options for a community-centered group to advise on this strategic plan to address homelessness. Staff had prepared 5 organizational options to continue the oversight by City Council of the strategic plan for the committee to consider, which were as follows. The first option was to continue the Standing Committee in its current configuration, with the mayor and deputy mayor rotating as chair and vice chair, and remaining council members as ex officio members with no voting authority. The second option was to appoint community members as additional committee members with voting authority equal to the chair and vice chair, with no limitation on the number of committee members. The third option was to form a homelessness commission, which would be comprised entirely of appointed community members. A commission is subordinate to the City Council, and council members may not serve on the commission. This would be a staff-led body with recommendations presented to the City Council by city staff. The fourth option was to consolidate the Standing Committee in semi-annual strategic plan update workshops and hold quarterly workshops. This would serve the intention of the City Council in forming of the Standing Committee to allow more frequent updates and lengthier discussions on the strategic plan activities without burdening the City Council's twice-monthly open session agenda. Holding quarterly workshops would also call for the attendance of all council members, which would allow for formal council actions to be taken, such as resolutions to approve new contracts or accept grant funds. The fifth option is to continue with the semi-annual strategic plan update workshops only, with intermediate strategic plan items requiring City Council action, such as awarding contracts or receiving grant funds, brought to regularly scheduled City Council meetings. The recommendations from the Standing Committee discussion on February 20th include the formation of a 7-member homelessness commission, which would require an ordinance to be brought back to the City Council at a later date for adoption. The recommendation also establishes 12 standing homelessness meetings per year, with the Standing Committee continuing to meet during the even months, the Homelessness Commission meeting during the odd months, and the Strategic Plan Update workshops continuing to meet twice a year. These workshops would be held in March to cover the reporting period of July through December, and September to cover the reporting period of January through June. If the City Council's direction tonight include the continuation of the Standing Committee with the Standing Committee's recommendation or adoption of a single or combination of the other options presented, staff recommend rescheduling the regular meeting time of the Standing Committee meetings to the 4th Thursday of each month as opposed to the 3rd Thursday to better accommodate the preparation of the strategic plan partner updates, which are submitted by the individual partners to the city on the 15th of each month. Staff would also recommend voting to appoint Councilmember Jeff Fox as an ex officio member of the Standing Committee. This concludes staff's presentation. I'm available for any questions.
I just want to say, I think we came up with kind of a hybrid idea here, and if you're still on board with it, I'm still on board with it. I think that the work that we've done, I think we found a lot of agreement, and I think it's been really important as council members to have the ability to spend that additional time dialoguing with service providers. I do see having a separate and alternatively meeting commission, being able to bring some community members into the conversation. And I didn't want to lose the important work that we're doing as council members. But I think this is a really good balanced compromise. So I appreciate you working on it with me, Deputy Mayor, and I'll recognize you.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Jonathan, for reviewing this item with us. When I first put forward the request to my council, I think it was 2 years ago now, to form a community-based group, review group to assist us on homelessness matters. I didn't have the support of my council, and then I was eventually able to get the support of the council to dedicate a little bit of extra time via a committee. And ultimately, in working with the mayor, we were able to identify our priorities, and the options that we have available here, the recommendations from the Standing Committee, essentially allow us to have community insight, council oversight, and collaboration at our workshops. And I think that this, throughout the year, is going to be a very efficient and helpful workflow. It would be a structure that does not overburden staff, but something that I was really committed to is I want to be doing this work, but I do not want to be doing it alone. We have community stakeholders that deserve to be part of this conversation, whether that be from our business community or those who are involved in those best practices for providing homeless services. We really want their feedback. And of course, we want to make sure Councilmember Fox gets fully integrated into the committee as well. So thank you for bringing that up to our attention so that we can vote for that. I would make a motion that we direct staff to begin drafting an ordinance so that we can form a commission, that we schedule the meetings to the preferred time, and that we vote to appoint Councilmember Fox as an ex officio member. And I think that will cover all of the recommendations here. So thank you, Mayor, for working on this with me. It was really important for me to get unanimous support for this. And I think at a certain time, you were not supportive, but that's, the power of our communication and being able to work together, because now we get to form a commission that has the full support of the council, and every single one of those members is going to know that they are, being directed by the whole council and the mayor and the deputy mayor to do the work, which will give them a lot of confidence and give staff a lot of confidence as well. And then we get to still have oversight, which is so important because this is a high cost issue, and we have a lot of contracts to review, and people's lives are at stake. So I appreciate everybody's support on this, and that would be my motion. Thanks.
And I'll second that motion. Councilmember Contreras.
Okay, just to clarify, so the Standing Committee is still going to be a part of this?
Yes, so essentially, we're meeting alternate months. So the standing committee will meet, and then the commission will meet, and then so forth. And then there will be 2 workshops a year.
Okay. I just have a question for city manager. Do we, with that type of structure, do we have enough staff capacity to manage that?
Well, it's going to require additional staff time, if that's your question, but yes, we can do it.
Okay. Can we, I just want to understand the cost, if there's any cost associated with it. So that's something that we can talk about offline. I see the wisdom in trying to not overburden staff by having it alternating. And I'm so supportive of a commission. That's something that I too have been wanting to see. And so I'll be supportive of the motion. I just really want to keep an eye on staff time and understand if we're going to need additional budget allocation for more staff hours. So that's just something that I would want to see if that's something that happens.
We're going to have to develop this a little more depending on the action
Okay.
tonight, but we can come back and report out on that.
That would be fantastic. I really want to dig deep. I think that, obviously homelessness is a huge issue, and it does require a lot of staff time. It requires council time, and the community wants to participate as well. But I just really want to keep an eye on the cost and not have too much duplicated efforts. But I think that you have both thought through that. So I would just love to see what data comes back. But I am supportive. Thank you. And again, I really appreciate that Mayor and Deputy Mayor, you have been really committed to not only looking at the issue of homelessness, but really talking for hours and hours and hours during a public meeting to get to some kind of common ground, which is not easy to do, right? But this is why I think when we created the standing committee, it was so critical to have you, Mayor, on there, and you, Deputy Mayor Melendez, on there, because sometimes we think that we're so different, and we're just thinking about things differently, but we have the same goal in mind, and we just want to ensure that we can get there in a safe, healthy, and financially prudent way. So I just really want to thank you for all the work that has gone into it. It's not easy to have an 8:30 a.m. meeting, but you all, provided the council and our staff and the community with a really important dialogue that was actionable and has only made our strategic plan to address homelessness that much better. So I do appreciate your service. Thank you.
Councilmember Fox.
Thank you. I didn't even realize I wasn't an ex officio member, so that's really funny. So, if the rest of the council is supportive of this, I can be on board. Just looking at the options off the top, my preference went towards an option 4, where it was more workshops and where we could have longer form discussion. And like when I was looking into the item before the meeting, that was kind of what I leaned towards, was doing the 2 standard workshops, and then maybe adding 2 more in the community room or something like that, where it was more of like how we're doing our strategic plan, like our aging plan, and some of those. I thought those were pretty good community options as well, that may touch on a lot of the deputy mayor's 3 goals of getting the community involvement and all that. So my first reaction was to lean towards that, but if the council still feels strongly that on the standing committee recommendations, I'm open to that as well. I just wanted to bring that one up and think as think that one through as a council, see if there's any opinions on that one in particular, just because I think there's some of those things where we could dive into that funnel a little bit, that chain from outreach all the way through transitional back, into and what those chains look like, what those handoffs look like, where the resources need to be in a workshop setting, probably a little bit more easy than something like something more than a standing committee or something like that. So open to ideas, and I'd love to hear your opinions.
I would just say that it was before you joined the council, I wanted to make sure that every member of the council was an ex officio and had the right to appear, speak, and participate equally. So what I would say is I would encourage you to come and participate in those meetings because that's where we're really spending a lot of time getting into the issues. Absolutely. I'm not really sure. I mean, doesn't our ordinance just indicate that all incumbent members of the council, or they have to be by name?
I think, Joe, you guys did it by name. So
I would.
Just to be,
I would recommend if it's okay, if we modify it to just it's all incumbent. That way we don't have to do that again. Everybody
I
understands.
would like to change the procedure as well.
We'll change that.
Just that way we don't have a council member for 4 months is not technically allowed. But I see the commission opportunity, and I think were we going to allow the commission to decide their hours to vote on when they were going to meet? Is that what we're going to do?
That would be fair, yeah.
Okay. I mean, I'm guessing they're probably going to want to meet in the evening, but we're going to leave that up to them. But I'm just saying, I think that's 5 opportunities for the public to come, and in a less formal setting. We have the 2 workshops, which is to say, at 2 different points during the year, we want the whole council to really review what's going on here. And then we have the standing committee 5 times a year is going to, really do a deep dive on holding, on really questioning service providers, holding them accountable. And if you want to come to those meetings, and we'll go all the way down the rabbit hole, I think we've done quite a bit of that. But this really ensures that the community can see that there's not a month that's going to go by that we're not going to be focused on this subject. And of course, we're still going to have items like the one we had tonight come before the council on a regular basis, maybe as a product of the standing committee or on the product of the commission. So I think this is a great and carefully crafted compromise. I'm very pleased with. Councilmember O'Donnell.
I'm going to give Councilmember Fox a minute to finish his previous thought, and then I'll go.
Yeah, I passed it off prematurely. I had another question. So.
Oh, I apologize.
No, that was not your fault. That was me. I made it sound very much like I was finished. My only question was that I didn't get to was: are the subjects that the committee and the commission, would they be going over the same subjects, kind of like you would go through one first and then the other, or is it like how do we kind of decide which goes to the committee, which goes to the commission? Just kind of that kind of thing.
Could I speak to that, Mayor? So as the committee is concerned, we have standing items that we review on the committee. That's, receiving reports from our contractors, reports and updates on numbers of people served, that sort of thing. And, we also look into solutions. Recently, we've been investigating different shelter options for our long-term solutions for our shelter. So that's been a lot of the work the committee has done. I see the committee also taking an active role in delegating certain, working tasks to a commission. So perhaps, the mayor and I, we conceive of an idea, right? But we want to put it to the commission to review. And so I see really that there's multiple funnels of review and oversight before it comes to the full council. Then, of course, staff also could utilize the action from the commissions, right? If there's a contract that could benefit their review or, another procedural items that typical of our planning commission or of our safety commission, right? Just under the topic of homelessness that they would review, then we would empower staff to do that as well.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
Thank you. Yeah, Jonathan, I actually had a question for you. I am going to be supportive of this, but did staff have a different recommendation or thought on what avenue we should take?
I would defer to the city manager.
City manager, did staff have an alternate opinion, or would you prefer not to answer that question?
Well, no, I'll be completely honest with you. We would prefer the 4 workshops. It's just a lot of staff time to spend creating a commission, staffing a commission, doing the standing committee meetings. This is a tremendous amount of staff time, so that's what we prefer. But we work at the pleasure of the council, so we'll do whatever you want us to do.
Yes, you do. No. But I believe that Councilmember Contreras brought up a great point. From a budgetary standpoint, especially after the discussions that we've had in previous weeks and moving forward when we have a larger discussion about the budget, I would like to just keep that in mind moving forward with this. I'm going to be supportive of this. I'm going to vote in favor of it, but these are my concerns with the commission because I supported a commission when I ran, and I'm going to support it now because I don't want to go back on my word. But my largest concern is that rather than have stakeholders at some point, and I think that we're all going to act in good faith and not do this, but rather than have stakeholders that are actively trying to correct the issue of homelessness, that we then begin having political appointees that are just put in this position to be on a commission, which I would really hate to see, especially on this body. So I don't know if anybody's open to it. I think that within a 12-month period, if we can review this commission just to see what we've gotten out of this, to see what they brought back to the council, and just make sure that it's moving in the direction that we are hoping that will. I just had a conversation today, and this is not an issue that we will ever solve, but we can always make inroads to making it better. And I'm all for every avenue. I do appreciate the work that the two of you have done, Mayor and Deputy Mayor. I have watched some of the meetings. I was at one of them. Unfortunately, the time does not lend itself to me being able to be there. But I know that you don't always agree. So the fact that we can come to some consensus and try and work together and build upon it, I appreciate the work that you both have done. Yeah, and my last question is, Councilmember Fox, do you even want to be a member? We didn't even ask you, No, those are all my comments. So like I said, I'm going to be supportive, but I would like to bring this back 1 year from the date of the first meeting of the commission, not from today, just to be clear.
And before I recognize Councilmember Contreras, I just have to say I think that Deputy Mayor and I have found way more agreement than we have any disagreement meeting in these committees. And it has been an extreme investment of time. Mm-hmm. But and in terms of considering this investment of staff time, I want you to tell me what we're spending more money on as a new discretionary expenditure than this. I mean, this is, what are we into, $30 million now with the new ERF3?
Appropriate, that's about right, yeah.
Yeah, we're closing on $30 million invested here. And this is the number one issue that voters have identified that they want us to solve. And so I am so hopeful that, in a year or two from now, we're going to be coming back, not with a doubled population, but with a halved population, and lots of really amazing stories to tell about people that we have gotten into permanent housing and how we've really, I want to be the city that has a story to tell about how we solved the problem. And that'd be a great brag for Vista that we really have. I think we already have a lot to brag about, but I do recognize that it was never my contention that there weren't community members that have a lot to offer here on a commission. My issue was, and why I think the compromise is so important, is I didn't want to lose the fact that the voters have invested this great trust in us, and they elected us, and they know who we are. And they can hold us accountable. And to me, that's really important. So I'm excited about it. I think it's a good compromise we've come up with. Councilmember Contreras.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it is a good compromise. And I also agree with you, Councilmember O'Donnell. I would love to see just, information at a 12-month mark. Because also, if we're going to need to have more staff time, that's going to be a budgetary discussion. The other thing I just wanted to confirm is with the motion that we have on the floor, is it the mayor and the position of deputy mayor, or is it Mayor Franklin and Councilmember Melendez and or Deputy Mayor Melendez that will be serving on the standing committee?
The standing committee motion was the deputy
These
mayor and the
two.
mayor.
Okay,
Yeah.
Regardless
that
of the
hasn't
title.
changed, right?
great, okay.
The deputy mayor is the chair of the standing
I
committee.
should clarify. It clarifies the individuals, not the title.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was wanting to make sure. Yes.
But the original motion in 24 had the chair and vice chair switching every year.
I'm more than happy to have the deputy mayor continue to serve. I will defer. I think, you know, in a committee of two, it's worked pretty well. You know, I want to move forward here with maximum good feeling and goodwill, because this is accomplishing something on this issue.
Yeah, I mean,
That
and
matters
the
to
reason
me.
that I ask is that, you know, the deputy mayor may be someone else in the future, but, or maybe not, right? But I do think that you two as individuals are the best to have these discussions. And yes, I see Walter.
So I looked at the original motion again, and the two individuals were identified by name. So
Okay,
yeah.
perfect. Just making sure.
Just to clarify.
I see what
completely.
you were asking.
Yeah, yeah, I just want to
misunderstood.
clarify that it's
Yeah.
just gonna, because I don't, if someone else is deputy mayor and they can't even make, you know, the meeting or whatever the case might be, then it kind of falls apart. So I just wanted a clarification, but yeah.
I wouldn't want to conscript anybody else to participate. It is a lot of time, but it's one of the things that I've done that I felt was most useful. You know, because we really are getting into a deeper conversation with people that we're spending millions of dollars with.
Right.
It was a lot like what we did tonight with Rescue Mission, except, you know, I felt a little bit of pressure to cut off my questioning because I knew I was already taking up a lot of time. When we're in the standing committee format, we sort of have, I don't want to say unlimited, but we are a lot freer with the amount of time. Yeah. Yeah, it's not getting late in the evening.
Right.
Well, you know what, I mean, I as much time as it takes, again, you tell me what we're doing that's more important than trying to solve homelessness in Vista. I mean, and if we can do it, we all get a gold star from the community and a legacy to leave behind. So,
And I do appreciate, Mayor, that you did advocate for the rest of the council to have the ex officio opportunity, right? And my understanding is that we don't get to vote, right? So, but I have, you know, every once in a while I'm able to listen, and then if I have a spare time between my meetings, I can give a call in. Doesn't happen too often, but okay, I have the clarification I need, and I'm good to go.
very good, Deputy Mayor.
My final statement on this is, you know, as we have been doing the work, I've identified that the biggest call for our city is that we need to do long-term strategic planning. And in our workshops, essentially, twice a year, we're going to be updating our strategic plan. But I really think that we have to come together, be it in our committee and our commission, to start to form some of those long-term decisions. So it is a greater investment of time. I completely agree with the mayor that this is an area that needs that oversight because of the high cost associated with these activities, and also what is, you know, gravely at stake with people's lives. This, you know, potentially could be a committee and a commission that is dissolved once we solve the problem, right? But I think taking a really proactive approach, meeting regularly in this manner, I believe it'll be effective, but I appreciate the opportunity to review it as well. So hope we can all get on board. I see City Manager.
Mr. Conley.
Only one question, and that is if we're going to create a commission, it would normally be a commission of 7. That's what our typical commissions are. Okay, I'm assuming, so that would be the normal process. So assuming that you want to have a 7-member commission, that's what we'll proceed with.
So I'm willing to discuss this with Mayor during our committee meetings. 7 is great, right? We want to be able to have an odd number, but I think it would be appropriate to have like designated seats, right? Representative from the school district, or you know, be able to designate a member of our business community, right? So we could all have individual appointments, or we could strategically identify the partners that are going to be most effective, and also to prevent, right, as Councilmember O'Donnell mentioned, the utilization of this commission as a political activity, being able to have kind of like a lot of transparency in the formation of it. That would be my suggestion.
So we will put this on the agenda for the standing committee, and then when you guys have a recommendation, we'll bring it back to council. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
And I would just say that sometimes when we've had on like our public safety and traffic, we put a school representative, and that chair tends to be the one that's vacant most often. I'm not looking to make appointments to score political points. I want to solve this problem. I think there are members of the business community that have a valuable perspective. I think there are people with lived experience that have a valuable perspective. I think we need from all angles, we need perspective here. To me, the most important thing is people are going to spend, to me, if you're signing up for the Homelessness Commission, it's you're signing up to roll your sleeves up and do a lot of research, visit our service providers, take tours, get firsthand knowledge of what's happening, and then bring that information back to council members in the community and report back what you found. So I'm going to be looking for people that are really constructive and have good solutions. This is not a partisan issue. And some of the most disagreeable, some of the biggest disagreements that happen in the right way to proceed in this space are not Republican versus Democrat. They're not right versus left. And it's interesting. I mean, there's a lot of things that Governor Newsom and I agree on this subject that I haven't convinced everybody in this room of. So I mean, I'm just saying it's not a partisan thing. There's a lot of different approaches, and so I'm just trying to find all of those different perspectives. Mr. O'Donnell, Councilman.
Yeah, just for clarity, I just want to restate, I don't believe that is what's taking place within this commission we're about to form. My concern is in the long-term projection of the commission, and that it eventually might become something like that, which is a valid concern, I think. But I think that all of us up here are acting in good faith, trying to make sure that this issue does get solved, and we do take it seriously, and whoever gets appointed to these positions will also take it seriously and do the work as you described. So, that's all. And I also, I do genuinely appreciate the work that both of you have done to get us to this point, because I know it wasn't easy and it did take a lot of hours. And so just thank you for that. And I'll look forward to seeing what happens in the future.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Please cast your votes. That item passes unanimously. That's the end of our agenda. We didn't have more than 10 oral communications, so the opportunity for oral communications is closed, seeing no other speakers. And we'll start with comments from the staff. Any comments from our clerk staff? No. Mr. Chung, Mr. Conley.
I have a couple things. One, we launched a short-term rental online application. As of July 1st of last year, all the short-term rentals within the city must have a valid permit and have to submit transit occupancy taxes to the city. So if you're thinking about opening a short-term rental, please contact the city or check our website, vista.gov/STR. The Moonlight Amphitheater concert series kicks off this weekend with Wanted, the ultimate tribute to Bon Jovi, Yachtly Crew, and Los Lobos. So please come out to the Moonlight and enjoy those concerts. Visit moonlightstage.com. Want to wish Walter a happy birthday on Friday.
Hey, happy birthday.
Thursday, sorry. We're throwing him a big party Thursday night. And I want to recognize the hardest working assistant city manager in the county who's on vacation tonight. Decided to show up for the meeting even though she's on vacation, so thank you, Imelda. Thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have to send you to get checked on. Councilmember Fox.
Beautiful. So I just did come back from my trip to Round Rock, Texas with the San Diego North EDC. And so there were, the city of Round Rock is 130,000-ish population, 30 minutes north of Austin, similar population to San Diego. So it was an interesting way to look at, how another city, halfway across the country looks at things. So, I took a lot in, and there's definitely some stuff that we can't do, but there's definitely some stuff that we can look at doing to make. So, we'll be probably bringing some of that stuff up soon. We have a meeting at the Garden on April 5th at 1 p.m. for general admission and 11 a.m. for VIPs at the Alta Vista Botanical Garden. If you're a fan of mead, you won't want to miss it. It's Taco Tuesday. Need I say more? And then lastly, I'd love to thank my beautiful wife for letting me serve on this council and come home late on random Tuesdays. That's it. Thank you.
Councilmember O'Donnell.
I got a few, but I'll try and rip through them quick. I believe that the bike lanes are going in on Longhorn near RBV. Is that correct? I see the striping for them and all the signs that say don't park there. Awesome. Can't wait. I've actually had a student email me yesterday about bike lanes and the infrastructure needs along Melrose and in that area. So I was happy to let them know that they were about to happen. All the veterans that were here tonight and all the veterans out there that served in the Vietnam War, one of which is my father, thank you for your service. It is a debt of gratitude, and as the mayor mentioned, and I know I've mentioned as well before, you did not get the reception you deserved when you came home, but nonetheless, I am grateful and the nation is grateful for your service, so thank you for that. To the employees, I will not be able to be at the employee recognition dinner. I will be in Milwaukee for a work event, but I want to let you know that the work you do is greatly appreciated. I mean that very sincerely. It is the efforts and the dedication and the passion that you bring to the city and to your jobs that actually allow us to do all of the work and bring it to fruition. So I apologize I will not be there, but thank you for all that you do for the city of Vista. Walter, I apologize. I have a more important birthday, which is my mother. My mom's birthday is today, so happy birthday, Mom. She is actually recovering from a fall, which required back surgery, so I hope you remember it, Walter, and I hope you never forget it. Yeah, there you go. I hope you do feel bad. To my wife, Allie, who I know is at home watching, love you very much. Looking forward to our impending delivery in the next month or so. Thank you for letting me serve on this council. And the final thing I will leave us with tonight. So we talk a lot about education, and you saw the impact that someone like Sarah Spinks has. My parents were here last week, and my mom went to one of our neighbors' funerals, and there she had learned that my 7th grade teacher, David Wilger, had passed away last year. And I will tell you, I don't remember a lot from his history class, but he had left an impression on me with a lot of life lessons. And one of the things that he told me is no matter, I don't care if you're going for a job at a gas station, construction, or corporate office, always wear a tie. And go for the job you want, not the one you got. And so it was numerous life lessons like that made a direct impact, and that was all the way back in 7th grade. It got me interested in history, it got me interested in politics. There are so many lives that gentleman touched. So I just want to say thank you, Mr. Wilger, if you can hear me up there. If you got up there, I'm hoping. But thank you for the life lessons. Thank you for being such a wonderful teacher, for the thousands of students whose lives you touched. And to all the teachers out there, thank you for the work that you do. You all have a good night.
Sounds like you got a good referral. Councilmember Contreras.
Okay, so I have some information to relay from the last North County Transit District meeting. Route 334 and Route 444 are being discontinued. Route 444 is not here in Vista, but Route 334 is, and it's our circulator. And I have some feelings about it. However, I believe the dates are that the Route 334 will be discontinued May 18th, and May 19th, NCTD Plus is going to come. And it's going to encompass the Route 334 because 334 is a circulator. And I told the CEO and the body that if for some reason we don't have funding to continue NCTD Plus, we need to bring back the 334 as a fixed route. But I was ensured that there is a commitment to provide service to this area. So I'm going to be watching I want this to be very successful. NCTD Plus has been extraordinarily successful in San Marcos. You have over 2,000 people writing it. The fare was reduced. It was going to be a premium service. Now it is the same rate as taking the bus, so $250. And Youth Opportunity Pass works on NCTD Plus. So one of the things that happened is that they actually geo-fenced the new Vita, which is the old Rancho Minerva Middle School site. So NCTD Plus will be going out there. But I just want to let you all know that you have my commitment, that I'm going to be watching this to ensure that we do not lose service, because we got a lot of emails and public comment that people need this bus service. So anyways, I will guarantee you that I will be on it, and this will be better for the community. And if it's not, then I'm going to make a big fuss about it. I'm going to bring it to council, and we're going to have some words with NCTD. Anyways, that's all. Thank you. Have a great night.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to all of our staff at the city. I really appreciate my council as well for all the decisions we get to make together. And thank you to our community and all of our partners and just everybody I get to work with. I'm really grateful. This year, I launched our second annual shoe drive, and I really wanted to make sure that we had partnerships to keep it going, and very excited that North County Ford joined in as a sponsor. And yesterday, I was able to join them at MAC, where they delivered 100 pairs of shoes to kids and families in need of shoes over there at MAC. So really exciting opportunity for community to come together and be unified. And you can participate too. If you would like to donate a pair of new or like new shoes, we do have several donation boxes here at the Civic Center. So please participate. There are more kids and families who would benefit. And then I also just want to say, congrats to all the students who are putting up their artwork in the Civic Center gallery. I just lit up when I walked in and saw all that coming on board. Mayor and I will be judging the artwork on Thursday, and there will be a reception for the artists later on in April. I believe that was, let's double check, April 16th in the afternoon. So please join us for that. And in the meantime, check out the awesome art and have a wonderful night.
All right, the Vista Fire Rescue and Vista Fire Protection District will host 2 public community meetings to discuss upcoming vegetation management policies crucial to wildfire prevention. The meetings will be held Tuesday, April 8th from noon to 2 p.m. at the Vistonian, and Wednesday, April 16th from 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. at the Havens Country Club. Attendees can hear from fire officials, ask questions, and speak with insurance representatives about coverage and risk mitigation. Light snacks will be served. For more information and to RSVP, visit the city calendar page at vista.gov. And thank you to my wife, Shauna, for allowing me to serve, because she's probably in bed by now, and it's without me a lot, but I appreciate her letting me do this. And I think what we do, every one of us, is very meaningful. Even if we don't always agree, when we find agreement, we know we're on the right track. Thank you all. Have a good night.